Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
On guitar lessons? Sure, I'll give you guitar lessons. Just as soon as I can work it out with Ola. He's got a Sunday podcast, right? Well, the topic du jour, as you can tell, can the red pill ever be mainstream? We'll talk about that today. I got a little bit of a surprise going for you. It's going to be a multi-stream cast today. Hey. Greetings. Greetings. Thank you. Thank you. Still working out the bugs out of the Sony here. I think it's okay, though. It's all right. I got a little bit of delay, but I think that's it's workable anyways. Hopefully it doesn't bug you guys too much. It bugs me. Maybe it bugs me more than it does you. What are my musical... Oh, God, here we go. Already outside of metal. Well, a lot of people don't know this about me. I studied flamenco and Latin guitar for about 8 years. So I play a little of that. And let's see, what else? I also have an Irish bouzouki that I kind of screw around with a little bit. It's a 4-course bouzouki. Yeah, 4 course is what we would call it. So I have that. There you go. All right, let's see. Let me get your levels real quickly. Thank you, by the way, for all the new sound drops. These are great. Now, suddenly everybody wants to give me a sound drop. Thank you. I need to get one for whenever Myron or John from Modern Life Dating says, at the end of the day, I need one like that. Somebody give me the end of the day one. I could use that one. So I'm going to just get into it today. I usually kind of like noodle around a little bit and tell you how I'm doing and catch up with you guys. I will for just a second here. You guys, I put out a poll this week asking what form you like this show in the best. And the good news is I'm going to do it in all forms. I have decided I'm going to do my Sunday shows are going to be the live stream. So those will be the long form shows. Wednesdays, unless there's something that's really pressing or something that's really going on, or I really feel like it, I will not be doing a long stream, on Wednesdays. I will be doing 30-minute max, well, maybe 33-minute max shows. Some people are asking me to do even longer than that, like 45 minutes. But I think for the most part, people's sort of attention span, at least midweek anyways, tends to be a little bit shorter. So I'm going to be doing some recorded stuff. People like those because I'm not distracted by you fantastic, wonderful people in the chat. So so I'm a little bit more, I think I don't know, you tell me, I'm a little bit more focused in my 30-minute streams. I am doing shorts as well. I eat my shorts. I am doing those at 1-minute shorts. Again, those are just sort of experimental at this stage because YouTube will be launching the real version of their hashtag YouTube shorts very soon. And they've kind of given creators sort of the heads up to like, here's what you can do. So I've been doing them. I know Rich has been doing a few of them. It's kind of like their answer to, I don't say TikTok, but I guess TikTok, but certainly Instagram stories and things like that. So, and I do those on occasion too, which of course I will be doing all next week. I will be in Miami. As soon as I'm done with this podcast, I am going to be packing my bags. And for a very early flight tomorrow, I'm going to Miami. I will be there with Donovan Sharp, and I will be there also with Aaron Clary. So that's going to be a really fun week, I think. I'm going to try to get these guys on a deep sea fishing trip too. So we'll see how that works out. So anyways, that's what's going on. Now, here's the reason why I wanted to talk about I actually kind of planned this on purpose today. I wanted to talk about the red pill going mainstream because that seems to be the topic du jour these days. And I'm seeing it more and more. I know I was going to participate in a live stream that Myron and Fresh were doing about the recent, I guess, Timcast live stream with him and Mike Cernovich. And it seems to a lot of people like Tim is just kind of, maybe he's just sort of like dabbling in red pill stuff right now, the red pill topics. And of course, what happens is as soon as we're done with an election cycle, everybody who was, struggling for content now suddenly pivots from politics to something, whatever the new hotness is. And in a lot of cases and for a lot of guys, it ends up being red pill. So yeah, and this is nothing new. As I said, I have been around for quite some time.
I was there 3,000 years ago.
Yeah, I have been in the manosphere and in the red pill communities or whatever, seduction communities, I guess, whatever you want to call it, for almost 20 years now, at least 18 and a half, 19 years, somewhere around there. I usually peg my start at about 2002. So anybody coming at me who says, this is new stuff. This is the black pill. This is MGTOW. This is MRAs. This is TradCons. What? I
was there 3,000 years ago.
Thank you for that drop too. I've been around for a long time. I've been doing this for a long time. I am not a dating coach. I am not a PUA. I am a keen observer of human behavior. Let's just put it at that. A lot of people say, well, Rollo, he's a godfather of the manosphere. I've never called myself the godfather of anything. Okay. So when people call me, people have definitely called me the godfather of the manosphere or godfather of the red pill, whatever, or the rational male is the Bible of the red pill. I am the research and development department for the manosphere, I think. I feel pretty confident in that. Now, not to gloss myself too much, but I think that a lot of the stuff that I do, particularly a lot of the material that I've written over the years, has served at the very least as a, what did you say? At the very least as inspiration to guys who are now in the quote unquote red pill or the manosphere. We didn't even call it the manosphere back in the day. Funny how clueless they are. TikTok went famous because it doesn't censor or derank, not just, yeah, that's for now, Samurai Flag. They will. They all do. Parler will too. Gab will too. Everybody will do it at some point. Trust me. That's how these things progress. You go, oh, we're going to be the alternative to what? Yeah, for now, until you become the mainstream. And now suddenly you become the people you hate, right? The red pill is never going mainstream. Good. I'm glad you think so, Ryan, because that was actually the beginning of everything that I was going to talk about today. The ideas are becoming decentralized. No, they've always been decentralized. We once only had the red pill godfathers. Now we have more professors. Yeah. Well, we have more people. We have more voices in the conversation right now. And I think that should go without saying, and some for better and some for worse. It just kind of depends on what the topic is really and where it's coming from and who's the one, making that noise. And again, I've been around for a while. I have been doing this for quite some time. I think a lot of what's funny to me is a lot of the guys who come at me today don't realize how long I've been doing this. And I have, and this is the funny thing, you've made it when you have guys in certain spheres accusing you of plagiarizing yourself. Hey, that's in the rational male, didn't you know? Dude. Yeah. No, what'd you say? I'm not the godfather. Sounds like Luke Wilson's here. Yeah, I'm not. I've never called myself that. I'm glad you guys, I'm very appreciative of that. I'm glad you guys show me your appreciation. I'm glad you guys have, your terminology, whatever else. But again, I'll just state for the record here before we get off to, to whatever start that we're going. Hey, hello from Italy to you too. Hey, great. Thank you. I've never called myself a dating coach. I've never called myself a relationship expert, right? Which is another, I guess, another moniker or another title a lot of people like to give themselves. I have never been a PUA. I have studied PUAs. I've studied the seduction community for a long time. I have never had a program where I have taught guys how to do this, or I still might write that book on game. But as you might guess, that book will probably be very analytical And it will probably not be so much a prescription as much as it is tools, why these things work or why they should work, how you can employ them, or maybe you don't want to employ them. Very similar to the 48 laws of power. You don't have to use every single law of power, but it behooves you to know all of those 48 laws so that they're not used against you, or so you can either protect yourself or you can use them within the limits of what you feel personally is ethical. Great, awesome. But you should still have those tools. You should still know those laws, right? Shebang, there you go. Wow, you caught me. So as far as psychology is concerned, I'm very interested in, let's just say my background is in behavioral psychology. I'm very interested in evolutionary psychology. To me, the red pill has only ever been about intersexual dynamics. And if you've read the introduction, just the very first paragraphs of any of my books, of the introductions of any of my books, that's in every single one of them. And I try to explain this for new readers in case somebody picks up the book and doesn't know what is this rational? Who would unironically call himself a rational male? Give me that. What's in here? And look at it and read it. That's why I put those in there. So when people start coming at me with, oh, he says he's this or he's that, or read the book. I can tell within maybe 5 or 10 minutes of somebody trying to roast me or somebody trying to come at me, whether or not they've actually read the book. I can tell. I've been doing this for a long, long time.
3,000 years ago.
So I've seen a lot of things change in the Reddit. Now I'm not going to, with all facetiousness aside, hey, look, I got this now. This is cool. Look, thank you, Devil Mountain Coffee, for my new cup. Highest caffeine content available to man. So let's come back down to earth here a little bit. As I said, I've been around for a while. I've been doing this for a while. If I haven't been writing about it in forums way back in the day on SoSuave, I was doing it on my blog. I still am doing it on my blog. Sorry, I haven't been back to it. I should. I do it here. I have 4 books. I craft each and every post I put on my blog. I try to do my homework for each and every one of these shows. That's another thing is I don't think a lot of people really fully appreciate is that the shows that I do here, I research them. I go and I look and say, well, is there, like as I said, in every single one of the descriptions of my videos, I put some relevant links to something I've written in the past or else something that I'm like sort of analyzing in the videos. You don't get that in a 30-minute clip, and you don't get that really in certainly don't get it in a 1-minute clip. And I'm kind of glad that the 1-minute clips are just generating some conversation, because at least maybe it like piques the curiosity of people who are watching to dig in a little deeper. As I said, we're in the TLDR generation right now, so it's really kind of difficult for me because I want to be as comprehensive as I can possibly be. But again, I'm always trying to balance being comprehensive with being concise. And that's a real problem for me. No, that's not a Gibson. That's actually an ESP. That's a 7-string ESP that's behind me. It's a LTD ESP. It's a EC257, I think. My expensive guitars are right over there. Let's see. Did I miss somebody? I think no, I didn't. Good. Wow. I'm trying to keep up a little bit here. Yeah. People keep saying, you get distracted by the, yeah, I do get distracted by the chat. That's one of the reasons why I want to do my Wednesday shows, but not today. Today, I don't care. So anyways, so when it comes to red pill stuff, I've been around a while and I've seen these things kind of go in cycles. And this is one of those things that's part of that cycle. Back in about 2012, I think 2012, maybe 2013, it might have been after that. Maybe it was 2014, but it was prior to the 2016 election cycle. And I can remember way back in the day when Roosh was actually somebody you could actually have a conversation with. He was prognosticating that 2012 and into 2020, I guess, that decade was going to be the decade that the red pill was going to go mainstream. We were having this conversation back then. In fact, if you look at some of the essays, I got 3 essays in the description here. And if you look at those essays, you'll see we were talking about this. I can show you the forum posts. I can show you the conversation. If they're still around, I think I might be able to dig up the blog posts where Roosh was saying exactly the same thing. This is the year that the manosphere, the red pill, is going to go mainstream. And it didn't then, and it's probably not going to now. And one thing I learned as part of that process is that for the red pill to be legitimate, it kind of has to stay not mainstream. It has to be, I don't say underground, but it can't be a part of the mainstream. Because right now, the mainstream is really, at least certainly the narrative and certainly the zeitgeist, right? The popular consciousness that's going on right now is very woke, very cancel culture, very social justice-y. And not just that, though. I mean, that's easy. We can identify that all the time. You just go on Twitter and you will be able to identify cancel culture and social justice, right? What you don't see as a part of that is what I've called, sort of the gynocentric social narrative or the gynocentric social order. I have several posts where I describe this as what's called fempowerment, female empowerment. And we're still, it's been something that's really, the narrative itself has been going on really since the beginning of the sexual revolution. Kind of came into its own during the boomer generation when the boomer generation was younger, right? Woodstock, right? The early 70s when Gloria Steinem was somebody, right? When we had what I will refer to as militant feminism right now, because I don't really recognize, I don't think that there were waves of feminism. I think feminism has always been feminism. It's not like first wave or second wave or third wave. Like, can you tell me what was second wave feminism? Most people can't. Most people only know that first wave feminism, yeah, that was the suffragettes and they got the vote. Right? Well, no, the same people who were in that movement and that same ideology is ripe today, right in 2021. There are no waves of feminism. There has only ever been one feminism, and it's been interrupted by wars and social unrest, and it's sort of ebbed and flowed from, I would say, I usually mark it at about, 1848, 1849, whatever Seneca Falls was here, when they had the commission or the convention of feminists, and that's when the suffragette movement sort of got off to a roaring start just prior to the Civil War in the United States. And so 1849, 1848, 49, somewhere around there, and then of course it's all over the world, right? So when you look at that and you look at just the last 50, maybe 60 years of how we have turned at least Western cultures and rapidly other cultures now, thanks to the internet and the new age of technology, we've turned things a lot more towards fempowerment or gynocentrism. If you've read any of my books, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I call it the feminine imperative, female primary social order, a gynocentric social order. It is by women for women. I've had this discussion several times about what's the difference between, say, patriarchy and gynocentrism. And so we've gone through that. I'm not gonna rehash that today. However, why is the red pill not ever going to be mainstream? That's why. Because it goes against too many generations who have ego investments in gynocentrism. Whether or not you think you have it, whether or not the way that you think right now, there is so much involved in what sort of contributed to your blue pill conditioning, to what you think of intersexual dynamics just by popular culture right now. For the past 4, maybe 5 generations, certainly the last 4, you don't realize just how endemic, how pervasive that the influence of feminism and gynocentrism has been in your life and your children's lives. And maybe, if you're a boomer, maybe even your grandchildren's lives. We take it for granted. So whenever somebody says, "Oh, I don't identify as a feminist," or I'm not, I forget who was interviewing the feminist girl. Oh, it was Zuby. Zuby had, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Zuby. I've been on Zuby's show before. He was interviewing some feminist chick, right? I guess she's a blogger. Maybe she just wrote a book or something like that. And she doesn't want to identify as a feminist, but she still is kind of, she has her feminist leanings, or she has her, her understandings. And I thought it was a great kind of interview with this girl, because I'm like, it is in 2021 for certain, and probably for the last decade or so prior to this, it is essentially meaningless for somebody to identify or not identify as a feminist, because somewhere along the line, you were taught some feminist ideology. So something that contributed to your personality, something that contributed to your ego-invested beliefs in some way has been influenced by feminism, really that started way back in 1848, but more recently, right around, say, 1965, 1968, 1970. When did Gloria Steinem, was it 1974, something like that? I've said on this show several times that we're still using the same language of gynocentrism that was popularized way back in like Our Bodies, Ourselves, right? Or whatever Gloria Steinem, the feminine mystique, the male gaze. Anytime you hear something like, oh, men are so infantile, they have fragile egos, or whenever you are accused of having or being insecure in your masculinity, that is directly out of the feminist handbook that was really more or less written maybe 1972, 74, right around the time of the militant feminists. And gradually, our society has become more and more gynocentric to the point where we're here now. And as I said before, I'll make this prediction once again, and I don't think this is any big shock. But yes, I do believe that Kamala Harris will be the first female president. Mark my words. And probably sooner than even I think. I'm usually right in my predictions. I'm usually right, but I am wrong about the timing. But the same kind of things that were said back then are still here now. I illustrated this a bit in my fourth book, because when I was talking about religion and I was talking about this, remember, when I talk about religion, I'm not just talking about established religions. I'm talking about new religions. I'm talking about systems of belief. And that's really important. That's going to be really important for today's topic, because systems of belief are really where we're kind of molding things in society right now. And I don't want to get too deep into this, because it's like, you read book 4 and you'll understand. It's easier if you just simply read book 4. I know it doesn't sound like it's easier, but it's really easier if you just read my fourth book. But in there, I talk about how it's not just like, Abrahamic religion. It's not just Islam, Judaism, Christianity, whatever, Hinduism, actually. That's number 4, right? Those are the big, large world religions. It's not just that, but we tend to think of religion in those terms. But religion can be lots of things. Religion, like your belief system, I refer to this as belief sets in my as you can see that book in my newest book. And really, the reason why you're not going to see a mainstream red pill is because it's too, for lack of a better term, it's too iconoclastic. Go look that up. If that's too big a word for you, really, go look it up. It challenges sacred cows in the sense that these are the belief sets that have been sort of instilled into you with respect to intersexual dynamics, with respect to blank slate equalism, with respect to social constructivism, with respect to what you expect from yourself as a man and what women expect from you as a man, and what women expect from themselves, very little, but what they expect or what they are expected to live up to as sort of the strong, independent woman stereotype, archetype, whatever character that's been built for them for the last 60 years, since let's just say 1965, somewhere around there, like the rise of militant feminism. And so anything that goes against that is sacrilegious. It's a sin. So to be judged, I said this before on some other shows, I said to be judgmental right now is a sin. Don't judge me. That's how women start their conversations. Don't judge me, but don't take this the wrong way, but I don't know who needs to hear this, but you know exactly damn well who needs to hear this. Okay, don't stop it. Just stop it. It's not funny anymore. What did you say here, Jamie? Dropping by, saying thanks. You are welcome, my friend. Pass those both. You know what? Thank you for your support, James. Also, Jamie. Also, if you're going to introduce your son to the red pill or red pill praxology, you might want to, as a father, you might want to start with book 3, which is positive masculinity. I talk about parenting in there a lot. There you have it. What else did you get? What advice do you give men raising daughters? Well, excuse me, Mac. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Did I get you? Sorry, man. Gosh, my voice is. Excuse me, my voice is going already. What advice do you give to raising daughters? Well, you can find that out also in book 3, which is The Rational Male, Positive Masculinity. What do you say? The term red pill is becoming sort of common in Italy, which I wasn't expecting. Yeah. In the meme satire Facebook pages. Yeah, of course it is. Because they want to laugh at it. They want to, it's something that is new and, well, I say new, but it's something that's been around for a while, but it's something new in the terms of like, we have to find something else to talk about. There has to be something else to have a conversation about. Who gets canceled next? Oh, let's find out. How about these red pill schmucks? All right. Okay. Yes, in a derogatory way. And also, what did you say, ML? We must admire women. They have succeeded. Yeah. Well, no, they haven't. They have in the sense that we've allowed that success to be prioritized. Let's just say. But I do like. Where'd you go? Hold on one second. That was a really good one. There you are. So anyways, yeah, it's becoming like the red pill is like people are saying, well, is the red pill becoming more mainstream? Look, here's Tim Pool. Here's Mike Cernovich. Well, let me tell you something about Mike Cernovich. Mike Cernovich has been a part or was a part of the red pill / seduction community way back in 2009. As I said, I've been here for 3,000 years.
3,000 years.
Okay, I know exactly who Mike Cernovich is. I know exactly what he's been doing. I follow the guy. He follows me as well. We follow each other back. I became aware of Mike way back in 2009. He was actually on a lot of the forums and the comment threads that I was a part of way back then. We were both friends with Roosh. We were both friends with Vox Day. And I still am. I'm still on really good terms with Vox Day even today, right? Now, Vox has changed, pivoted to something else. Mike has pivoted to probably a dozen other things since then. So let's just start with, I'm gonna dig in a little bit to what Tim Pool was talking about earlier, because I really wanted to give my 2 cents on Myron's show. I'm going to later after this, like immediately after this show, I'm going to move over to Myron's show, or it might be on Donovan's channel. I'm not really sure just yet, but they're going to be talking about pretty much this, the same thing with Tim. But I wanted to just sort of give you guys sort of a little bit of a preview because it's really pertinent to the topic for today. If you consider yourself red pill, if you consider yourself part of the manosphere or like aware, let's just say, I don't like to use the term woke, right? Because you know what that means, right? But you're aware of the red pill. You're aware of intersexual dynamics. Your eyes have been opened. Let's just say you've been unplugged from the matrix. And now you see things from an intersexual dynamics perspective in a new light, in a new way, right? So even if you're not one of those scummy pickup artist dating coach guys, even if that's not you, okay, fine. But even if that's the case, you still can't help but see things in a different way. So as a result of that, if that's you, or if you've been into this, I guess, community, the manosphere for a long time as well, you kind of owe it to yourself to understand sort of what the history of it is. If there's going to be any historian of like the red pill or the manosphere, come to me, ladies, Jezebel writers, Huffington Post writers, New York Times writers, Washington Post writers, whoever. Before you mouth off and start talking about the manosphere or MGTOW or this or that or whatever, before you think you're an expert on this, before you make your next documentary, CNN, come to me. Come to talk to somebody who's been, involved in this or at least has some awareness of this for the past almost 20 years. They're not going to do that because, as you said here before, is they want something that is derogatory. They want something. So when I was talking about whether or not the red pill was going to go mainstream, again, we've had that conversation before. I had that conversation back in 2013, maybe 2012 with Roosh. I had that again right around 2018 when I was at a certain unnamed convention and I delivered a State of the Manosphere address. I said exactly these words. I said that the red pill is going to have a PR crisis at some point. And I was expecting it to happen really right around 2019, 2020 during this election cycle. And we'll probably, and to a lesser degree, I think maybe I was right about that. But right now, since everybody's pivoting for the next hot, looking for the new hotness, the red pill sounds like it's a good villain. It makes a good Bond villain, right? It's Dr. Red Pill. He's at it, stroking his little cat with his bionic hand, right? With laser beams on his sharks. Right? It sounds like something it's an easy villain. They want something vaudevillian. They want something that's like they want the I'm the red pill king. That's what they're looking for, because that's simplistic enough for the mainstream to really gobble it up and then digest it and move on to let's go watch The Bachelor now. You know, that's where they want to go with it. So when somebody says, is the red pill going mainstream? The term might be, the mockery of it might be, the indignation that it triggers in people might be. Absolutely. It has been for a while now. A lot of people, like I see this happen all the time. I said this, this was part of my, my talk on the, what was it? The State of the Manosphere address that I did in 2018. I did it. If you've ever, I should probably link that. I'm still very proud of that speech. I'm not proud of who I did it for, but I'm very proud of the speech. I thought it was really good. But some of the predictions I made in there, I did what was, I'm sure you're probably aware of this. It's a SWOT test, or SWOT, SWOT, like strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Kind of like what a CEO or like a company, like, you know, management would do. Like if they're trying to figure out like, where should we go? What should we focus on this year, guys? You know, kind of like focus grouping for a company or whatever it is. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to try that. And so that's what I did during that speech, and during a part where I was getting into weaknesses, and then later on in threats. The threat part of it was the last part of that talk, and in that I mentioned this. I said the red pill runs the risk of becoming a loose brand, and it was already at that time. I think the Red Pill documentary by Cassie J was already out there. Another project that you would not even know about had Mike Cernovich not funded it to the tune of about $10,000. So he could call himself a filmmaker. That's really basically what it was. In fact, the Manosphere would have no idea about, would have no clue of what that documentary was even about. I don't even really want to call it a documentary because it wasn't. It was really more a story about Cassie J. It was her sort of journey of self-discovery and transformation. It wasn't really about like MRAs or anything. They were playing a role in her movie. But you wouldn't know about that had it not been for Mike Cernovich or Milo Yiannopoulos at that time. Milo Yiannopoulos, she approached, was it Cassie J, could not get the funding to do the distribution for that movie back in I believe it was 2015. Might have been 2016, somewhere around there. But maybe it's prior to that. But anyway, she's still making quite a good living off of doing interviews and talking about that. And in every interview, it's really, the whole movie is about her. It's not about Paul Elam, you know, blubbering like a little child, or Dean Esme or whoever. It's not about that. It's about her journey of self-discovery. It's about her going from, I was a feminist, but now I'm not because I met these really great guys who are called MRAs. That's more or less the basic plot outline of that. But again, you would not know about that had she not got the funding from the Manosphere in the first place. Because what happened was Mike Cernovich decided that he wanted to put 10 grand into this so that it would get the funding it needed to be a documentary. It was already done. She just couldn't get distribution for it. And she needed money. And she ended up going, she only needed like something like 25 grand or maybe 30 grand. She ended up getting like 120 grand or 160 grand, like well over what she needed. I know that. I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head. But again, you would not know about that had it not been for him funding it and then having people match that, I guess. And then Milo Yiannopoulos, because she had approached Milo to, I don't know, popularize it so people would be into it and that she could get some kind of distribution. And yes, there were feminists that fought her on that. Another reason why the red pill, and by that I mean the loose brand, the term red pill, not the actual, you know, praxeology of the red pill, has become something that is commodifiable, if that's a word, right? You can turn it into something that is a loose brand that people use to build their own brands of. Now, the other thing that I said in the State of the Manosphere address back in 2018 was, as a threat, one of the greater threats that the quote unquote red pill, as far as I'm concerned, is a praxeology, not an ideology, but the red pill itself has become so many different things. So it's a political thing. Like it's become this kind of catchphrase or this buzz term to represent whatever your personal truth is. And for as much as we like to criticize people for not thinking rationally or reasonably, or we want to be more objective in the red pill, I certainly do. In fact, that's why I keep calling the red pill praxeology. It's a loose science that is still being researched right now. That's the great thing. That's the beauty of it. It's written pencil. It's not written in pen. But a lot of people want to take that term, the red pill, and turn it into their own little personal truth. And for as much as we criticize women for saying, it's about my truth, I'm living my truth. Well, guess what? If you're calling your little, whatever your ideology is, whatever your political stripe is, whatever your, I don't care, whatever your brand name is, if that's your personal truth, then you're no better than those women who are going and saying, it's all about my personal truth. No, you don't have a dedication and you do not have an obligation to objective truth, to discovering stuff, to this is a praxeology. I keep saying that. And people don't, I mentioned that. I tried to hammer that home as best I could in The Rational Male Religion, my 4th book. I talk about that quite a bit. The difference between what a red pill as a praxeology versus an ideology. And I'm using the term praxeology probably inappropriately, but I'm using it because it's the best thing that fits. I can't really call it a science because people go, that's not science. Or we have such a problem with even the word science today. Oh, science, these guys, that's a belief system. Well, the scientific method is not. For some people, it might, science might be something that they bandy around because they want it to sort of validate whatever their personal truth is, right? So that's the nuts and bolts of it. And so in the threat side of things, I mentioned that. I said, today everybody, and I've mentioned this with Myron several times, is today everybody is their own personal brand. I am, you are, most likely. If you are single and you're trying to, even if you're dating right now, women certainly are. If you got OnlyFans, if you got an OnlyFans lady, you're your own brand. If you have your own Instagram, you're your own brand. You are advertising for yourself and you're doing what anyone else, and I know because I've been in the business for a long time, what anyone else would call brand management or brand identity. I know, I did it forever. I made logos. I've worked for casinos. I've worked for big companies. I've worked for liquor brand, more liquor brands than I can even count right now. Managed everything for them. Set up PR, set up promotional stuff. Hell, I worked on most of their products. So when it comes to brand management, I can identify that almost immediately. That's one of the reasons I'm very good at this. So when I see that and I see, well, Myron's telling me, you'll never get a date with these chicks unless you have, some good control over your images, your pictures, your perception, your public image. If you are an influencer today, if you're an Instagram influencer or you're on YouTube or whatever, you're your own brand, first of all, but you're also your own PR department on top of everything else. So if the hot new thing that's trending right now is MGTOW or red pill or incel or whatever else, it behooves you to add that to a tag, add that to your profile, add that to your tag. Well, hey, that's what's going on. You keep your finger on the pulse of the zeitgeist, right? So let's go and look and see what's hot. Follow that trend, move along with it. Most people are not innovators, particularly when it's the brand of me. They're fast followers. They're not innovators. They're not doing something that's new. As I said before, I've been the research and development department for the manosphere for a long time because I have such a background in it that is applicable now today. So even the guys who hate my guts right now in the red pill or the manosphere, they can, even when they're talking shit about me, they can't help but use the same vernacular that I've been using forever. They can't help but talk about the same principles, the same facts, the same praxeology. They use the same language. Hell, some of them even read it directly out of my freaking book. All right. So when it comes to those things, you're your own brand. And that's what I said is one of the biggest threats to the red pill as a praxeology, as intersexual dynamics, as a praxeology of intersexual dynamics. That red pill is threatened by the fact that everybody is their own niche marketer. That's why I call it the hustle economy in book number 4. So when I'm in the hustle economy, I am. You guys are too. Most likely you are. If you have a YouTube channel, if you have even if you have an Instagram of some sorts, you don't have to be making a ton of money. But if you, ladies, to the 2 or 3 ladies that are watching this right now, if you have an OnlyFans account, you're in the hustle economy. You're hustling. It used to, there was a saying a long time ago. not a long time, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago, that the only way to make it in the world or make it in America was to have two incomes, be a dual income home, right? Two incomes and a side hustle. Now, your side hustle is your income. And certainly after COVID, it is. And so as a result of that, your hustle becomes your revenue. And so when people are attacked for their personality or their personhood, you're dealing with people who are, and maybe it's innocuous and maybe it's not, but when people are attacked for their personhood, it's not just who they are. It's not like, oh, you did this. Oh, I found something. I dug up some dirt on you. It's not just that. It's a threat to their livelihood because they're in the hustle, especially if you're in the hustle economy. You want to know why Bella Thorne pissed off so many girls on OnlyFans? Is because she grabbed the bag and ran. That's why they were supposed to share that bag, but no, she's just going to take it and she's just going to run. She was ruining, and what did that do? Is it drew a really kind of bad highlight to the girls who already had a bad highlight on OnlyFans. And so now we're not OnlyFans girls. We're not prostitutes. We're sex workers. Start calling us that. Well, the reason why you have that as a social convention, as a push, is to sort of tone it down a little bit. Hey, bring it down. Because when you say you're a prostitute to a girl, that's an attack on her personhood, but it's also an attack on her brand of me. And everyone has their brand of me. I do. Tim Pool does. Sir Cernovich certainly does. Everybody on Rule Zero does. Everybody outside of Rule Zero does. So when we're talking about threats to the red pill as a sort of objective praxeology of intersexual dynamics, a big threat is the brand of me. So when people start talking about, we need to come together and unite the tribes of the manosphere. No, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not because I don't think it should, not because I don't think it's a great idea. It's because everybody's their own brand. So if somebody talks shit about somebody else, that's not attacking them. It's attacking their livelihood on top of that. Don't listen to that guy because he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Oh my! And so his numbers go down, his engagement goes down, yours goes up because you added some red meat to the grill, man. Red meat smells good. So when we're talking about like infighting amongst the quote unquote tribes of the red pill, we're all on the same side, right, guys? No, not everybody is out to get you, but everybody is out for themselves, and everybody has their own brand of meat. So it doesn't necessarily mean like I was talking to Hotep Jesus about this. And when I was out there, when I was out in Miami last January, and I was there with Hotep, I remembered something he said on Tim Pool's show, as a matter of fact. And he was talking about grifting. And he's got this great show called The Grifties, right? It's like the Academy Awards of Grifters. And now he's actually making something of it, I guess. But and it's really funny. It was a great show. It was really funny as hell. But I asked him about something he'd said on Tim's show. And he'd mentioned that, like he said, was it Tim accused him or somebody of grifting? And Hotep Jesus said this. He says, you know what? Everybody's a grifter. Everyone you know is a grifter. Certainly, if you're online, you're definitely a grifter to varying degrees, by order of degree. He said the difference between, like, say, a grifter and somebody who's like a good grifter and a bad grifter is the guy who gives back. So it's one thing. Like Bella Thorne, definitely a bad grifter. Grab the money and run. $2 million in 36 hours. Bam, goodbye. And she didn't even need it, right? I mean, she was already worth like something like $12 million anyways. Now she's worth $14 million. So that's bad grifting. There's another way. So you can call anybody you want to a grifter. Anyone, because that's what we're all looking for. I want to keep the lights on. I want to eat, I want to feed my dogs. There's a lot of things that I want to do, right? But it's a difference between being a grifter and being somebody who gives back. And this is, like I said, I'm quoting Hotep Jesus in this instance here. So I'm not trying to put anybody on blast or anything like that. But you got to remember that everyone has their own brand. And what I'm seeing right now that's really difficult to kind of separate is the man from the brand. And this is something I didn't really get into when I was talking about this on the 2018 State of the Manosphere address. I said this. I said the reason why you're going to see sort of infight, and I predicted this. I said you're going to see this kind of infighting is because everybody's own brand is not everybody's ego invested into their own brand. And so it's your brand of me is not just, it's your own personal business, but it's also you. It literally is. It's your personality, your background, where you came from, who you are, what your family's about, right? It's all about that. And are you legit or are you not legit? Do you owe child support payments? Did you really get a divorce? That kind of stuff. And maybe you turn some of your disadvantages to advantages. Just depends on what it is. The fact remains is that the brand of me is probably the biggest threat to the manosphere, to the red pill communities right now, because everybody has jumped into the hustle economy. And they understand on some level of consciousness that they have to keep it going, because they don't want to go back to their cubicle. They don't. A lot of guys who are in this sphere right now quit jobs so that they could do this full time. And when it doesn't pan out, or I can also make a comparison, a parallel to OnlyFans girls, right? Girls who show off their assholes on online, and they have to keep doing it. They can't, like, how do you go back? It's the same hustle economy. Like I was going to say, the same brand of you or the same person, brand of me mentality also applies to you getting a job in the future, ladies and gentlemen, I should say too. Imagine this. Imagine Roosh trying to go get a day job. He's going to go apply at Amazon and work in the warehouse. Do you think they're going to hire him? With that kind of, what's the first thing an employer does? It goes in, they creep around on your socials. They try to find out who you are. It's the same thing chicks do when they try to see if you're cool enough to date. So once you get into it, you can't get out of it. Even Tim Pool said that before. He said, you know what? The one thing he misses the most is actually being able to, take a break, to step away from it for a little bit. Because you either especially if you are, and I'm not that guy, but like if you are in the hustle economy and you're like a high functioning dude, if you're PewDiePie, if you're like, who's the, I won't say Abba and Preach, but like if you're any of these guys who have like really big YouTube brands that you built up, you got to appear or you disappear. Because the week you take off is a week somebody else is using to catch up and put you off. And guys, you can't take a break. Even up here, you can't. Because you go, okay, well, if I go and take a week off, if I go to have a vacation somewhere, if I decompress or whatever, well, that gives my competitors a chance to sort of scoop me on stories or scoop me on content or scoop me on whatever it is. Well, I don't know, whatever your niche ends up being, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be red pill. And so you've got that going right now in the red pill. You've got guys who are fighting other guys, but it's not like personal. It's brand versus brand. Technically, it's like little mini company versus another little mini company that happens to be ego invested in the personality of the guy who's his own brand. So yeah, you're going to see a lot of infighting. You're going to see that. And even if it's just like snipping back and forth, I love to have allies. I like people. I like to work with people I respect, and I like to work with people who have integrity. But I will tell you this right now, in the red pill community, in Manosphere, whatever you want, whatever the hell we're calling it today or tomorrow or next week, it's really getting harder and harder to talk to the man or talk to the brand. And I put out a tweet not too long ago where I said, you can talk to the man or you can talk to the brand, but you can never talk to them both at the same time. And so when I criticize somebody and I say, oh, that guy's all brand, that's what I mean. It's like, I want to talk to the dude. Like if I have something to say to like Donovan or Aaron or any of the guys on Rule Zero, I will say this. I'll say, look, I'm talking to you right now. Like if you want to come to me, you want to talk about your like personal things or whatever, or if you want to, like, first of all, I'm was it doctor patient, privacy kind of thing, right? That's the other thing. But it's like me as the man, me as the human talking to you as the human, rather than me talking to your brand or my brand. Go, hey, let's go and get, here's my next class. Here's my next book. That's the brand talking. I want to talk to you even everybody who's in a part of this, I want to talk to you as the man. That's what I'm always after. I'm not looking to, like, you're not going to see me putting up, like, I've got this thing going here. Like, I've got my my Amazon, where is it? This thing. That's on all. I'm not, it's not a hard pitch. I mean, if you want to buy it, please do. I hope you do, because a lot of people get a lot out of it. But in the time I have been doing this, I don't think I have ever done a full episode on, like, hey guys, I got a new book, I got a new program, I got to do this, I'm selling t-shirts, buy my face mask. I'm not doing that. I could be doing that all the time, but I don't, because I want to be able to separate the man from the brand. And that's, I think, is going to be the hardest part. And that is why the red pill will not go mainstream, because it's too embedded in the hustle economy right now. So let me catch up on these right quick, because I know people are chomping at the bit here. Why, when the mainstream mention manosphere, it is in relation to incels? I'll tell you why. Because, again, Irish Alpha, because it's the easy villain. It's easy to make fun of. It's a cute name, right? You don't have to really understand. Oh, red pill. Oh, those guys are dorks. It's like alpha male. Oh, those guys think they're silverback gorillas. Let's move on and go have some Twinkies now. Let's go and watch The Bachelor. That's because it's easily digestible. It's something that's easy to understand, digest, and then move on to the next thing. Oh, content consumed. Move on to the next thing. I talk about this in the red meat episode. Thank you, Dark Triad, for whatever that was. Your work is deeply appreciated, bro. Thank you. I'm glad it is. I try to relate in terms of, like I said, the man, not the brand. And how I came to that, I should explain how I came to that as well. Primarily, I came to that because of what Hotep Jesus had said. Like, it's one thing to be a grifter, and everybody more, especially if you're in this hustle economy, you're a grifter. But it's the guys who give back. Do you give back more than you take, or do you give back as much as you take, or do you just take? Like Bella Thorne, take from OnlyFans, because OnlyFans, like I said, is hustle economy. Red pill, depending on what you're, and remember, within like the red pill community, there's a lot of crossover. There's a lot of guys who are the dudes who are, fitness guys, or there's the financial guys, or there's the spiritual guru guys, or Brazilian power crystals. Tim, what did you say? You said, Rollo, take some time to think about this question. What percentage of males would you estimate are red pilled for each generation? Tough to say. I think boomers are probably too far gone. So I would say the boomer generation is a very low percentage, because it behooves and I'm not saying some boomers haven't become red pill as a result, but like they're just on this side of the grave, right? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that like time's running out, right? I hope you live a long life. I really do. But I would say percentage wise, at some point along the way, and I hate to quote the Matrix movies, but like there's a part in the Matrix where Morpheus apologizes to Neo and says, I apologize. We don't usually unplug people after a certain age because the mind can't handle it, right? Very similar to the boomer generation, because boomer generation can't handle it. They've lived their lives. And if you go and you say, hey, boomers, you've been blue pill conditioned your entire life. Here's the red pill. They most just simply go into denial, or they'll ridicule you. That's exactly why the red pill is easily digestible, and it's a stupid name. Well, okay, boomer is also another way of looking at it. So boomer generation, Gen X, I would say, and that's my generation, I would say Generation X is maybe 50-50, maybe a little bit more than that. I think the millennial generation and Generation Z have been the ones who are the least red pill, as odd as that's going to sound. And I mean that in the sense of like being red pill aware of intersexual dynamics. And they suffer a similar problem to the boomers, because they want to believe in the romance. They want to believe in the magic. They want to believe it could happen for them. Why do guys simp all the time? Why do we even have that word simp? That's because simping is really magical thinking when you think about it. Simping is like, especially if you're like a pay pig, or you're paying OnlyFans girls who you'll never meet, and you're doing it because it makes you somewhere on some level of consciousness, your psyche feels somewhat satisfied, like you have somebody out there to, to listen to your problems or whatever. Somewhere along the way, you've got to, you have some connection with somebody outside. It's not about sex. It's not about, you know, it's not about, I don't say intimacy really. It's just like having a connection from this side of the screen. And if you're paying for that, essentially what you're doing is you're tithing. You're paying your goddess. In fact, I saw this this meme not too long ago about like how to properly simp. And it was unironic. It was like, it wasn't meant to be a joke. It turns out to be a joke, but like, it wasn't meant to be a joke. Like, here's how you simp, like how to simp responsibly. It's almost like it read like a gambling addiction. And I've actually composed these before for casinos. It reads like a brochure that says, do you have a gambling problem? Here's how to identify the signs. All right. Do you have a simping problem? Here's how to identify. I should make one. I should really make a brochure so that you can understand whether you have a simping addiction, because it's kind of the same thing. It's that dopamine hit. It's those endorphins that you get, very similar to when you have a gambling addiction. There's gambling addiction is very, the parallels to simping and everything that like serial, like problem addiction simping, let's just say. Okay. So, but we look at that and we go, oh, well, these guys have a problem. Well, I would say that, the generations that have been brought up after the internet, after the new order, certainly after social media, the magical thinking involved with guys in particular, I'm focusing on guys here because you can probably apply this to women too. But for guys, as far as a red pill, I think they're harder to sort of get to accept. Like there's guys who are just simply, you're never going to reach them. Like I said, it's, unplugging guys from the matrix is dirty work. It's like triage. So you save the ones you can and you move on to the next one, right? What else do I have here? Thanks for that. That was a good question, actually, Tim. But I would say I can't give you actual numbers, but that's as best as I can do. Those are my estimates. How's that? In modern Western countries. Okay. Thank you for your support, my friends. I'm just going to catch up here. Samurai Flack, I have you. There you are. If it's possible to red pill Tim Pool, it would have happened already. Tim Pool is not going to be red pilled. It is not in his best interest, certainly not in his financial best interests, to be red pilled. He's ready. He's read the most red meat MGTOW stories imaginable on his show, yet still refuses to acknowledge anything. Okay. Another excellent observation, Samurai Flack. And let me tell you why it's an excellent observation. It's because when you have a brand of me that is built on trying to make the largest audience happy all the time, anytime you say something that makes a percentage of your audience unhappy, you're screwed. That's brand management 101. You want to know why so many people, like so many brands, like big name brands, jump on Black Lives Matter or LGBTQ stuff or whatever the new hotness is, or you know, if there's been some attack somewhere, everybody puts like the flag of the country where the attack has happened or whatever it is. Those companies jump on top of those things because they don't want to be the company that didn't. Guys who are in the hustle economy, and I'm saying guys, but it could be anybody. People who are in the hustle economy do exactly the same thing. So when I talk about purple pill guys, 90% of the guys who I would describe as purple pill, and again, not an insult, just an observation, just you meet the definition. Most of those guys are purple pill because they're more concerned with the brand than they are about actually helping anybody, or they simply have a lack of understanding of what it is they're even doing. So when you have a group or you have somebody who has a big platform, let's just use Tim Pool for example. There's been other examples in the past, but let's just say, for example, like people ask me this all the time. Actually, here's a better example. People ask me this all the time. They say, why isn't Rollo? How come Joe Rogan hasn't had Rollo on there? He's had Hotep Jesus on there. He's had Jordan Peterson. He's had some people who you would say are bordering on the red pill kind of thing, right? Why won't he have Rollo? He certainly knows my name because I know Hotep Jesus dropped my name when he was there. I'm not hard to find, clearly. Why doesn't Tim Pool have Rollo Tomassi on? Right? Why doesn't Dave Rubin? Why doesn't, Louder with Crowder? Why not? Well, because those brands are more concerned with their overall appearance. So if I go on there, like, remember when, I think it was on the quartering or no, maybe it was on Tim Pool when Tim Pool had Vaush on there and he was talking to him, and Vaush is like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with who he is, but that dude is bad press for a lot of people. Now, Tim was trying to like sort of play, you know, sort of diplomat in the whole thing. I think he really did it because he just wanted to have a good show, a good size show, right? So you're balancing the interests of your audience with the PR of your show, with the idea that you might get banned. So you have to be edgy, but you can't be so edgy that you alienate a sizable percentage of your audience, and you can't be so edgy that you'll get banned off the platform that you're on, and you can't be so edgy that you will be that you will have this sort of permanent black mark against you. But you got to be edgy enough because you have to edge out your competition. Why won't Joe Rogan have Rollo Tomassi on his show? Well, because I'm too hot for Joe Rogan. And I don't mean that like, oh, I'm so hot. No, I mean that in the sense that like the things that I would talk about would probably alienate a good percentage of his audience. And they go, how could you ever have that guy on there? And for what's funny to me is for the same reasons that I probably couldn't get on to Joe Rogan, or I couldn't get on with Tim Pool or whatever, for the same reasons why they won't ask me on there is exactly the same reasons that they fight against when it comes to the woke mob. Like, how could you possibly do that? Because they don't want to lose they've just got a different demographic. That's all. We're not woke. Okay, well, how could you possibly have Rollo on there? Because he's Rollo Tomassi. He's one of these PUAs. He's one of these seduction. He's one of these dating roaches, right? He's one of these dudes. How come you don't have him on? Well, be too controversial for enough percentage of that audience to have that guy on there. Now, why does he have Vaush? I don't know. He was just borderline enough to get the effect he was looking for and not push it over the edge, right? And maybe, you know, people say this all the time. It's like, what, the internet never forgets, which is true, but people forget real quick. Human beings, poof, in one ear, out the other. So you can go look up all kinds of stuff. Like people keep saying, well, what about Mike Cernovich? You can go find all kinds of stuff on Mike Cernovich. You can find stuff on me. You can find stuff on anybody. But most people don't care. They would rather go watch The Bachelor. They would rather devour their red meat and move on to the next thing that's gives them that dopamine hit. So when it comes to things like that, it's like, well, you know, Tim Pool will never be red pill. No, but he'll be purple pill just enough to be edgy so that you'll come back for more red meat. That's really what it boils down to. And if UFOs is the next thing, then that'll be the next topic. And if it's politics, then that'll be the next thing. Whatever it is that will put eyes on the screen. And that's what I mean about the brand of me. Same thing's happening in red pill communities or red pill, whatever, communities, tribes. I want to call it a tribe. Matthew Scott says, tithing to the prophet. Thank you. You are, namaste. You are really doing the Lord's work. I think the shorts are great for beginners. I'm very grateful for the depth. Yeah, I'm hoping this, Matt. I'm hoping that the shorts will bring people to this show. Right? Is this a response to John Sonmez's video? No, it's not. This is a response to a lot of other things that are going on in the manosphere right now. Like I said, it's a topic du jour. You can go find it. It doesn't have to be Sonmez. It could be on anybody's channel. I don't have, I will not work with Sonmez anymore. Simple as that. I think he is disingenuous, put it that way. That's nice. I'm going to be as nice as I can say. He's disingenuous and is very much he's an appeaser. That's a better term. His dedication to appeasement is something that I think is damaging his integrity. Nigel says, how do we deal with women if we only make $40,000? Well, for what country are you in? $40,000 might go a long way in certain parts of the world. How do you make more money? Do you think that's what's, you think that money is actually what's, you know, helping you with women? In some ways it might, but you know, I can remember like the most, let's see, of the 40 plus, 43 plus notch count that I have, the vast majority of that was when I was a poor starving musician, poor starving artist, poor starving student, whatever you want. You don't need money to get laid. You don't need money to deal with women. Simple, very, very simple. Red Dwarf, fine migrant women are great. Okay, we're not talking about that today. I'm glad you think so. Samuel sent you the email on deep sea fishing. Yeah, thanks. I will get back to you actually probably right after the show because I am trying to book something for myself, Aaron, and Donovan for next week. Thank you very much. I'm trying to avoid, you know, I think that's the thing as far as, Corey, excuse me, Colin Doney says, build an effective brand of me, but heed. I saw 3 people lose their careers over something they posted on their socials this week, including a friend. Yeah, you have to be very careful of that. And the other thing is that if you are, if you're too hot, you're not going to get that job, right? Roosh is not going to get back into biomedics, right? Or whatever he was doing before he started writing lay guides. Tim Pool is not going to go back to a journalism job. If his brand of me fails, he's got, burn the boats behind you, man. It's either succeed or die trying. And maybe to his credit, right? I mean, in some cases, the best plan A is not to have a plan B, but most people aren't cut out for that kind of risk tolerance. So, Lee Maxfield, thank you for everything. I'm in the process of rebuilding. Any idea when we can expect your show on the reconstruction? Oh, you'd like that. Okay. I will put that in the great big book of everything. Lee, thank you much for that idea. I'm always happy with a new content idea. Do you think the Michaela Pink situation will help red pill women? I have no idea who that is. Please send me a link or email me something about that and I'll look into it. No, I don't have, that is, people send me lots of things. That's not one of them. Listening to you for a few years, I realized there is no separation between the professional and the personal brand. Yeah, again, are you talking to the man or are you talking to the brand? Are you talking to the chick or are you talking to the brand? You know what's funny is I think you could, I guess, guys, we have an easier time like making the separation between like, okay, is this guy a huckster? Is he trying to sell me something? Or is he, a guy shows up at your door, right? And he wants you to sign up for, I don't know, whatever it is like he's selling, right? Are you talking to the dude or are you talking to the brand that the dude represents? That's what and for men, I think it's easier when it's a dude that's trying to sell us like, hey, here, get this new home security thing, right? Vivint or whatever the hell it is, right? Get that fuck out of here, right? But when it comes to women, guys want to believe. And that's why like OnlyFans is so pervasive. It's so seductive for guys because it's like, oh, well, maybe she likes me. Maybe she doesn't. Oh, maybe I'll have a connection to her. Maybe she'll pretend to be my waifu or whatever the hell it is, right? I think it's harder for guys to make that separation, but it's easier for guys when it's another dude and you can sort of make that separation. For men, talking to a woman, because women tend to be all brand and they're all brand all the time because they are advertising their sexuality. They're commodifying themselves more or less, especially this generation. They're commodifying themselves more and more on Instagram because that's the way that they date. Remember, dating is a marketplace. It's not just you like, it's not that's a hustle economy, but that's the global sexual marketplace is itself a hustle economy. So when that's something to keep in mind, man, there's some red pill awareness for you right there. I wasn't even expecting to tell you that today. That's some red pill awareness. When we talk about a sexual market, any kind of marketplace really, but the sexual marketplace, a local sexual marketplace or a global sexual marketplace, that's maybe something you really need to like put in your head. Are you talking to the woman? Are you talking to that her? Or are you talking to the brand that is her? Are you talking to her Instagram account or are you talking to her? Are you talking to the character she plays on OnlyFans or are you actually talking to her? Because I would say probably most of the time you're talking to the brand if you're simping or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what. Or if you're dating. Even if you're dating, you don't even have to be like, you don't have to be like paying money for OnlyFans or simping or whatever the hell, whatever you want to call it. Like, if you're trying to, if you're looking at that woman as a potential plate, are you talking to her as the brand of her or are you talking to her as the actual chick? That's where you want to know where you make that point of connection. That's where the red pill steps in. That's how you know, but like be able to make that kind of discernment. That's one thing I really wanted to get into today was like being more judgmental. Like guys need to be more judgmental. And I would say primarily when it comes to women, that's what they need to be judgmental about. Excuse me. Are you talking to the woman? Or are you talking to her brand? Product placement. Oh, man. So let me get into this. What else do I got? Did I miss anybody? I don't think I did. Listening, yes, I got to you. Hacker Boy Bit says, listening to you for a few years, I realized there is, damn it, there is no separation between professional. Yeah, okay. How do we deal with women? Blah, blah, blah. Got to you. I think I have caught up. I think the 21 guys, 21 Con guys, was too harsh on you, especially considering any mainstream media play he got, he flaunted it. Well, let me just say this, Irish, and I'll just leave it at this, is that we're 2.5 years past that. We're almost 3 years past all of this. What have I done in those past 3 years, and what have those guys done? That's all you really have to do. Like, what's their body of work? What's the production? What have they done? Like again, what have they given back to the community? And any of those guys. I'm not just talking about, you know, the dickheads that are running it. I'm talking about like the people who are actually involved in it. What have they done? Tell me. I would like how have they advanced, you know, the well-being of guys, the well-being or an understanding of the intersexual dynamics. I wrote a book for 3 years. I put my freaking life into that. I put my life on hold certainly for the last year, but again, COVID kind of helped that along. You know, what, by their fruits you will know them. What are they doing? Tell me. I would like to know. I don't know. Rollo hit the button. Okay. Oh, that one. Oh, okay. Just because you gave me the thing. See, I don't have a stream link thing. There you go.
Don DeMarco.
Is that what you wanted, Don DeMarco? There you go. There you go, brother. Brother. A little off topic. Yeah, well, then we're not getting to it. Sent you an email today about the shorts. Okay, I will. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm like been doing a lot of stuff. I'm prepping for Miami right now, but I will go and look at my emails right after this. Persona non grata. Once European empire expanded into the New World, constant wars with each other, the red pill community is rapidly expanding into a larger audience. I hope so. But the problem I have, again, is that the red pill that we think is the red pill, that's what I'm most concerned about. Like when Cassie J came out with the red pill documentary, that was it, right? Or when Paul Elam and the guys in the MRA, I don't want to pick at him, but like just when the MRAs decided that they were going to co-opt the red pill as their own little personal brand after well over a decade of, you know, shitting all over the manosphere and throwing the manosphere and red pill guys under the bus. And I can point out lots of interviews of those guys on those shows. They decided that suddenly they wanted to be identified with the red pill until something bad happens, until some, you know, killer incel goes on a rampage and they say, oh, he's an MRA. He's a men's rights activist. No, don't tar us with that. Well, he said he was red pill. You guys are the red pill guys. You have the documentary right here. We're going to call you red pill. No. We don't want to have, we never knew ye. See how convenient that is? Again, protecting the brand of me. MRA is a brand. We got to protect the brand. Well, we want to be edgy enough to call ourselves red pill, even though we never would have thought about that like, you know, 10, 12 years prior, but that's okay. Go ahead, honey. We're going to be in your movie. Call it the red pill. Sounds good. Oh, well, what happens when the mainstream media identifies the MRAs as red pill? Now, guess what happens? You get tarred with this. You are personally responsible for radicalizing that kid to go and kill whoever he did. Shoot up the women's locker room or whatever the hell the guy does. That was all you guys' fault. You know, you're the red pill people. No, it's not us. That's what I mean about brand management. Suddenly it looks bad. Suddenly it's not. And really, one of the things I put here in the notes, and people are going to ask me about this when I said incels, MRAs, MGTOW, black pill, TradCons, purple pill are not red pill. And I'll tell you why that. I should explain that to you before I move on to this video here. The reason I put that in the notes here is because those are solutions. Bad ones, but those are solutions. Those are not the red pill. The red pill is a praxeology. It is understanding intersexual dynamics. It is the Chilton manual for the car that is the sexual marketplace. Understanding human nature, sexual nature, men's nature, women's nature, whether that's through evolutionary psychology or Evo bio or sociology or anthropology or any ology that you can think of, right? Again, it's a loose science. It's an objective, loose science that it uses a scientific method to determine a predictive framework. That's really all the red pill is. Now, once you have that framework, then from there you get MRAs, MGTOW, black pill, TradCons, Incels, whatever, because that's what those people, those factions within the manosphere, that's what they decide to do with that knowledge. That's where they go with it. That's what they promote. That's their prescriptions. So when ROLLO TOMASSI says, I don't do prescriptions. I don't have 12 rules for life. I have 9 iron rules of Tomasi, but again, you can just tell me to go piss off. It's like the 48 laws of power. They're just things you should know. How you apply them, how you put them into practice, that's up to the person. And as I will repeat this one more time, I am not in the business of making men better men. I'm in the business of men making themselves better men, giving them the tools to do so, giving them accurate information, actionable information that they can change their lives with. Again, show me what you built. You know, go criticize the 21con guys. Great. Show me what they built. Show me where it's going. Show me what they're doing. Because right now it doesn't look like, it looks like shit, like fuck all is what it looks like. So where are they going with it? What are they doing with it? So, and similarly, what are you doing with your own self? What are you doing with that? So when I look at MGTOW and the men going their own way, well, really, when you are red pill aware, to some degree, you're going to go your own way no matter what, because now you are cut away from your old way of thinking. You're cut away from the matrix. You're unplugged from the matrix, right? You're cut away from that blue pill conditioning, and hopefully you cross the abyss and you live in a red pill paradigm. What are you going to do in that red pill paradigm? Well, you're probably going to go your own way in some fashion, right? That's a practice. That's the prescription. Black pill's a prescription. Sit there and grind your teeth and furiously beat off. That's your prescription. TradCons. Let's go read the Bible and get back to the truth of what the red pill says. But like, let's, again, something I wrote about in religion, right? My truth is this. Okay, well, that must be red pill. No, that's just the way you're applying red pill as a terminology, but it's a practice. So what throws these guys off, what throws every one of those factions off, incels, MRAs, MGTOWs, black pill, TradCons, purple pill, what throws all of those guys off is a conflict. And the conflict is usually between an old belief set that was informed by the blue pill and is being challenged. I said iconoclastic, right? Is being challenged by the new information and the new awareness that the red pill gives them. And for some people, some guys, they don't have a problem with that. They cross the abyss. They go, hot damn, I got all this great new information. Now I can use this. Fucking hey, I'm on. Nice. Great. Now, and they're living a better life. They thank you, Rollo. Thank you for helping me out. Thanks for changing my life. Thanks for this red pill stuff. Thanks for pointing me in the right direction. Thanks for giving me the tools. Great. That's the highest compliment you can give a teacher, if that's what I am, is I'm better off because of your education. I'm better off because of what you made me aware of. Thank you. Thank you, son. But if you're taking that information and you're dwelling in, like, if you're commiserating, if you're grinding your teeth over it, it doesn't help you make you a better person. And rather you decide you're going to do something about it, whether that's be an incel, be a simp, be whatever, I don't know, whatever the hell the factionalization is, whatever that becomes for you, that's a prescription. And if you're telling other guys to do that too, like this is you're only cool if you're a MGTOW, you're only cool if you're black pill, you're only cool if you're a doomer, you're only cool if you're an incel on Twitch, right? You're only cool if you're an MRA because we need to fight for men's rights. It's usually a woman that's saying that, right? But irrespective, yeah, that's the practice. That's what you do. All of those things that I mentioned before, incel, MRAs, all that, that's what you do with the red pill, with that awareness. That can be distorted, of course, and it can be like your sort of personal truth rather than objective truth. And usually it is. But the reason people retreat back to those practices is because they don't like that their belief set has been challenged. Their religion was challenged by what the red pill shows them. So you have two options. When you are unplugged, when you're red pill and you become unplugged, you have two options. One of them is accept it, cross over the abyss, use that information for your betterment, become the best version of yourself, whatever you want to call it, and move on, build something with that, right? The other option is this. You can go back and revert. This is purple pill, right? This revert back to your blue pill hopes and dreams. All your ideals, the ideals that the blue pill and that a gynocentric social order has instilled into you. And then you can like grind your teeth and say, it's hopeless. I'll never have that. Well, the reason why it feels hopeless is because you still want it. You still want those blue pill ideals. You still want the loving wife. That's why I kept saying, what is it that you want? What is it that you truly desire? I've always wanted to do that. What is it that you want? Why are you in this? Why do you even read this stuff? Why are you involved in these communities? What is the best case scenario of being a black pill doomer? What is the best case scenario of being a TradCon? What is the best case scenario for an incel? What do you hope will happen by being that? But by that practice, because that's a practice. That's not praxology. That's taking the information from that praxology and turning it into a practice. So being an incel, that's a practice. Oh, you're a Curry cell. You're a Vol cell. You're a this. So you can subdivide that all you want. It's still the same thing. This is what we do with the information that we have. We'll never have those blue pill hopes and dreams, right? Well, then why aren't you improving yourself and becoming something more as a result of this new information? Why don't you do something with yourself? Why don't you? Well, it's hopeless. Oh, okay. Well, that's the practice. That's what you've decided is a good way, a good means or a good prescription for using the data, the analysis, whatever it is. Like I said before, like MRAs, MGTOW, even TradCons, really. I mean, you get the analysis right. That's where the red pill is analysis. It's objective analysis. They say, okay, here's or as close an approximation as we can make it. Here's what we have. Here's the data. Here's the numbers. What are we going to do with this? Oh, I'm going to go and just cry in my room. That's your practice. That's what you've decided to do with it. So yeah, that's why I say all of those things are not the red pill. The red pill is the praxology. You can call those ideologies. You can call those a way of life, your tribes. Have fun. Please do. More power to you, man. Takes you out of the market, great. Because if that's all you're going to do with it, then that's all you're going to do with it. Nothing I say or anybody else is going to convince you otherwise. So another reason why the red pill will not be mainstream, because it challenges too many belief sets. It challenges your conditioning, and in some cases, very deep psychological conditioning that has been embedded in these guys and women too, and normies even. Now I don't even want to talk about the tribes, right, or whatever you have subdivisions here. Just normies. Why do they laugh? Why does Philion, or why does these guys who are like completely outside of the sphere, and suddenly they're exposed to like Myron or Fresh doing a TikTok video, or whatever, suddenly they're exposed to ROLLO TOMASSI, suddenly they're exposed to somebody else. And why, if it wasn't that big a deal, why create any kind of like takedown video? Why even make a video at all acknowledging it? You'd be indifferent if it didn't in some way challenge the way that you're either living or the way that you're thinking and your belief sets. That's why. Because people become ego invested in their beliefs. And we become, as I was saying before, when we were talking about the brand of me, and we're talking about that's the person and the brand that person is, that is intimately linked to what's known as ego investment. Now, I don't know if I have done a full episode on this before, but ego investment is not something I pulled out of my ass. This is an actual psychological terminology, I guess, or dynamic phenomenon. What happens is when people become ego invested in something, and it's usually a belief, it becomes part of their personality. So it's easy to make the comparison to like religion, right? So if you, and I had to kind of preface my most recent book about this as well, is that when somebody is critical of your religion, or they say something, or you're faced with something that is contradictory to your belief sets, if it's been something that's been a part of you for a long time, or something that, like, maybe you were raised that way, or your parents were this religion, or they believe in something, it doesn't necessarily have to be religion, but I'm just using that as an example for right now. But whatever that belief is becomes a part of you. So if somebody says that belief is wrong, then it's not an attack on the belief, it's an attack on you, because it's become a part of you. It's like saying, well, if you believe that, you were raised wrong. if you believe that, or if you think those things, if you think this way, and it's easy to point fingers right to the woke community right now when it comes to like trans rights, or it comes to, you know, whatever it is, like LGBT you're not cool enough now if you're like gay. It's got to be something else. You got to have, you know, I don't know. It's like Starbelly Sneetches, right? From Dr. Seuss. You've got to have something that makes you special. But if that star on your belly, as the Starbelly Sneetch, if that's something that is endemic to you or is part of your personality, if somebody says if you're wearing that star, that's not an attack on the star on your belly. It's an attack on you and your personality, because you're stupid enough to believe that. Atheists love that too. They love to point at, you know, shit on people's religion, and they don't realize what they're doing, because most atheists are not trying to attack that person. They just don't make the connection that that person is ego invested in their beliefs. So having the conversation, like even starting the conversation, is usually pointless. But most, yeah, especially if you're an egocentric atheist who is himself probably invested in his own beliefs, in his own belief that there is no God, right? It is an atheist himself. If you were actually an atheist, you wouldn't have, and you'd be indifferent to like anybody who is, you know, religious. Again, practice versus the belief. So that's the ego investment. So when you attack the actual belief set or the belief, you don't attack the belief objectively. You personally and subjectively attack the personality of the person who is the believer in it. Now, take that and let's extrapolate ego investment to intersexual dynamics. So if you've been brought up as a blue pill guy for a long time in a gynocentric social order, and feminism, the ideology of feminism, has been integral to creating the personality that is you up to this point in your life anyways, and you are faced with the red pill awareness, anything, whether it's my book or somebody else talking to you or whatever, however you follow the red pill. If you are blue pill and you come into it, and like I said, you know, red pill we don't advertise. It's not like we have like, here's my advertisement. If that's the case, you are either going to go into denial, or you're going to reject it outright, simply just don't even want to talk about it, or you're going to find some sort of half measure to make that new data fit into your ego invested beliefs. That is another reason why the red pill will never be mainstream, because too many people are invested in their belief sets. And when they're met with something that is iconoclastic, that will in some way challenge those beliefs, then they either don't want it, or they'll go purple pill, right? They'll find some way to incorporate that new data into their existing belief sets and say, we knew it all along. Another reason why. And remember, it's not just about religion. It might not even be like about, it might not even be about intersexual dynamics. It could be, well, politics is another one, right? But it could be lots of different things that your ego invested in. And one of the most personal things that guys in particular, because men are the ones who have to perform, right? The guys who are, because it's a commentary on their performance. But one of the toughest things for guys is that ego investment, that belief in their own game. Remember when I was talking about game, how all these guys, how you can ask a 10-year-old boy, what's the best way to get Susie's attention, Johnny? And he knows, man, you got to have open communication. And he doesn't know where he got it, but that's what he believes. And if you say, Johnny, that's bullshit, Johnny's going to get really pissed. He's going to fight to keep it, to keep that belief set. So the main reason I used the woman in red for the thumbnail of this show was because during that scene when Morpheus is talking to Neo, and remember it's this simulation that's technically not the Matrix, but it's to teach him a lesson, right? You know, here's this scenario is meant to teach you one lesson, right? Be careful. But the people who are in the Matrix are so inured, and they're so involved in their own belief set, and they're so dependent on that system that they will fight to not be unplugged. They will fight you and kill you to shut you up. And you can apply this to cancel culture or woke culture, whatever, SJWs, whatever, but I'm applying it now to the internal strife that is going on in the red pill. Because it's not, again, it's the brand of me. You're being attacked about it. You're not being personally attacked. It's just attacking, maybe if it's a belief or whatever, or it's you know, you're not your brand, but your brand is associated with you, that you are invested in. And people will still fight to keep their you know, their belief set. Because if not, they've got to figure something out for themselves. And most people aren't creative enough to do that. And most people have spent a long time developing who they are, and to tell them you ain't been living right, or you haven't been raising your kids right, or whatever is tough for them to have. So they will fight against that. That's why the red pill won't be mainstream. It shouldn't be mainstream, because if it goes mainstream, then it's no longer the red pill. Everybody knows it, right? I mean, it's what, once everybody's special, nobody's special. That's what I'm talking about, is the idea that people who are in the sphere, people who we think, oh, well, but the red pill will go mainstream if we can just get it on Tim Pool. It'll go mainstream if we do this. No, it won't. It shouldn't. The red pill should not be mainstream. Now, another thing that's on my list, I think, here, and I've talked about this before, is the observer effect. The observer effect is this: observing a process changes that process. So the moment we start talking about, like, I'll use an example here. I think it's really good. And I was just turned on to this. I think it's on Reddit, but I'll explain something. I'm going to use this as an example to explain a larger purpose or a larger point here. Where did I put that? Here it is. Actually, let me grab this right quick. Do a screen share. I'm just going to read this to you. It's not really a big long thing either. There it is. Can you guys see that? Barely. Yeah, I'll read it to you. So I got this from a guy, and this is here's the entertainment section of the show. I believe this was I don't think this was Twitter. It can't be Twitter. It must have been on Reddit. It might have been like, "Am I the asshole?" or something on Reddit. This is my 28-year-old female boy. She's 28 years old. She's female. My boyfriend, who is 30, is having some kind of meltdown after finding out my friend's age of 36, female 36. Okay, I've been dating my boyfriend Mike, fake name, for about 4 months, and everything has been great up until now. This post is going to make Mike sound kind of crazy. Up till now, he's been the nicest, most laid-back guy I've ever dated. About a week ago, I was on a Zoom call with two of my friends who we'll call Annie and Sarah. Sarah is 27 and Annie is 36. I was talking to Annie and Sarah, and Mike leaned over my shoulder to say hello. Because of the pandemic, he hasn't met either of them in person, and yet it was the first time actually meeting Annie for the call. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Thank you, lady. Sarah was talking about her dating woes and how the pandemic has made it harder for her to date than ever. Mike made this weird joke about how Sarah needs to find a guy quick because at 30, she's going to hit the wall and no man will want her anymore. Sounds like Mike is a little bit red pill, or maybe he's been reading something. He said it in this joking voice, but both Annie and Sarah looked weirded out. I was too, to be honest. Mike's never said anything like that before. I guess Mike picked up on the awkwardness because he started trying to explain himself and started saying all of this stuff about how women age like milk, and as you probably heard, and men age like wine, right? And it's not the same for guys, and men tend to date younger women younger because after 30, they hold all the cards and can pick and choose. Sounds about right. Annie said, I haven't had any trouble meeting men. And Mike said, just wait until you hit 30 and lose your looks. It's all downhill from there. Annie just kind of laughed, and I had to tell Mike that she's 36 and obviously hasn't lost her looks. Yeah, thanks. You're being nice. If he's mistaking her for a 20-something. I said it kind of jokingly, but Mike just went silent and then walked off into my bedroom and slammed the door. Okay, sounds like he's a little pissy pants, right? That night and ever since then, he's been very moody and short with me and keeps making passive aggressive comments about how I'm always against him and never have his back. We never have even an argument before this, so I don't know where that's coming from. I tried to bring up the Annie thing several times, and he either clams up and refuses to talk about it or turns his back on me, or turns it back into me. Annie and Sarah ganging up on him and bullying him. Okay, it sounds like he's kind of like a little bitch, but let's keep going, which I don't think any of us did. The rest of the time, he's just very short with me and keeps picking fights over tiny, stupid things like my tone of voice being wrong. What do I do here? I really want to talk about what happened and about his views on women and men and aging, because that's kind of concerning. I don't understand why my sweet, cool boyfriend has suddenly transformed into this weirdo because he got politely corrected once. How should I solve this? Now, there's another part of this here too, where she goes into how she broke up with. Too long didn't read. I broke up with Mike, right? So I wanted to use this as an example, like a learning example. This is a teachable moment, I think. First off is never appeal if you are red pill, never appeal to women's reason. Another reason why the red pill will never be mainstream, because in an age of emotion, if you are appealing to reason, whether it's a woman or a man, really, but in this case, we're talking about women, never appeal to reason, because your reason will not convince them. Only an emotional appeal might convince them. But in the age of emotion, when we are dealing with at least the past 2 generations who have been raised on emotionality and emotionalism, when a guy says and lays out in black and white, here's the stats, here's the reality of all of this, and this is what's going to happen to you, or this is the likely scenario. This is a predictive framework. Women between the ages of 29 and 31 years old go into the epiphany phase. If you get past that, ladies, the odds are the closer you get to 36, 38, 40, you probably will not have children. And you probably will not be married. So why do you think women freeze their eggs? Why do you think women, look for artificial insemination or look for the hot guy on Facebook to, jerk off in a cup and sell it to him for $300 in Holland? Why? We can see this black and white. And that's something else I kind of break down in book 4 as well, is that because of the new order of social media and we have access to information that human beings have never had access to before, it is fundamentally changing how we think about society and fundamentally changing how we think about intersexual dynamics. You want to know why there's so much infighting going on right now? It's because of that. It's because there is more access to more data right now. You don't have, guys will tell you this all the time. God, hell, you listen to Aaron Clary, right? You don't need a degree in, bioethics or whatever when you got the internet. You don't need a degree in whatever it is. Like, you don't even need to actually have a degree in computer science to learn how to code. You can do that now. There's lots of resources online. In fact, most people, particularly after the lockdown, are discovering that the college that they took out all those loans for, they can do exactly the same thing sitting in the comfort. They can be in their underwear, scratching their nuts while they're learning about, philosophy or math or whatever it is, because they can do it online in front of a screen, just exactly as I'm doing it for you guys right now. Are you going to be as good as the guys who are going to college and getting the college experience? I don't know, but we're going to find out. I know we're going to find out. That's what's pissing off a lot of guys who have doctorates right now. You want to know why a lot of maybe legit, and taking nothing away from doctors. Like, you did a lot of work. You go to school for like 6 or 8 years or whatever it takes you to get your doctorate, right? Imagine this. Imagine you are old school and you went to college. You took out a lot of loans so that you could be a doctor of psychology, lady, which is mostly females right now. And you want to start your own practice, because the only way you can actually make any kind of money, at least under the old order, is to get your doctorate and become a therapist, right? Or sit on the couch. Let's talk about your feelings, right? That was your whole life plan. So here you are. You made the sacrifices. You took out the loans. You did all of this work to get that DR next to your name, or title next to your name, and you go to all the conventions and all the functions, and you have your licenses and everything else. And you know who's making more money than you? Who's selling, books or selling psychology? It's all these guys who are motivational speakers and success porn gurus and dating coaches who call themselves relationship experts, or PUAs, maybe, if that's your thing. Now imagine that. Imagine you got that and you're just seeing sort of this like amateur market spring up, and those people already have 8 years on you, because they learn while you were in school learning how to get your doctorate degree in whatever, branch of psychology or whatever it was you're doing. They were hustling. They were making money. They were self-publishing. They had a YouTube channel. They did something, right? I don't know. Maybe they went on Dr. Phil. I don't know. But imagine that you made all these sacrifices to do it the legitimate way, the real way. And some guy who just, took it upon himself to go, be the guy who's going to talk to other guys or other women, or women doing it too. Like other women talking to women. It doesn't have to be guys, right? And they're just amateur, life coaches. Imagine you're a certified clinical psychologist and you're getting upstaged by amateur life coaches who are doing more or less the same thing you would be doing in your private practice. Now, they don't know any different. And their patients don't know any. Their patients don't know any different. But there you are, and they don't have the same kind of school bills that you do. You'd probably be pretty pissed off, wouldn't you? You would probably do something, or you either, if you can't beat them, join them, or you'll be pretty pissed off about that. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the hustle economy versus like the old order way of thinking. So when some smart ass Rollo Tomassi comes and starts talking about hypergamy or starts talking about things that I know about when it comes to like my own interest in, evolutionary psychology, and I bring up stats or whatever, you're going to probably call me an asshole. Because here I am, I didn't get a doctorate in anything. Or it doesn't even have to be me. It could be like Tony Robbins, man. It could be the guys in RSD. It could be anybody. And if you think you did it the legitimate way, and I didn't, or somebody else didn't, or maybe you're a marriage counselor and the life coach is upstaging you as a marriage counselor, you're probably going to be pretty pissed off. You're probably going to try to find ways to sort of push back against that. So that's another reason why you will not get the red pill as mainstream, because there's enough guys, enough people who are still old order enough to say, you know what, you should go to college and you should get a degree and you should be able to go to these conferences and talk about sexology and this and that and everything else. Yeah, I'm sure that's great. That's why they hate the red pill. That's why they're going to throw rocks at it. No matter how legitimate, no matter how accurate, no matter what the stats are, if you don't have the DR next to your name, you're out of the club, man. Nobody wants to listen. So what are they going to do? They're going to find ways to delegitimize whatever it is. They can say exactly the same thing that you are, except the red pill. Those guys are sons of bitches and they're fuckwits and they're just idiots, right? Well, aren't they not talking about the same stuff David Bust was talking about? Are they not talking about the same thing that Matt Ridley was in Red Queen? Are they not talking about the same stuff that Steven Pinker was talking about? Well, how come their data is not right? They're quoting the same data that you are in your book, your legitimate doctor book, right? Yeah, well, of course they're not gonna legitimize that. They got bills to pay, man. They got student loans to cover. Hell yeah. Yeah, I would hate that, man. I would very much hate that. People have asked me like, well, Rollo, why don't you go back to college and at least get your master's degree in psychology? Why don't you go back to college and get a doctorate? I'm like, well, for what? What would I spend? Maybe 6 years? If I got a doctorate, right? 4 or 6, somewhere between 4 and 6 years. If I got a master's or a doctorate in behavioral psychology, right? Push it past the bachelor's degree. Okay, great. Well, what am I getting at the end of that? First of all, well, probably a headache, because 86% of psychology grads are female, first of all. So you're going to be putting yourself into that mess. But second of all is like, so where does that get me? I can put Dr. Rollo Tomassi. Well, not even my real name. Dr. Rollo Tomassi, Professor Emeritus. How many guys am I going to help, or could I have helped between 4 to 6 years that it took me to go back and get a doctorate? And then how much in debt would I have to go into to do that? I don't know. Maybe not so much. I don't know. Anyways, I will keep going back here because you guys want to talk about other things, don't you? Oh, I got the persona non grata. I got to you. Oh, here it is. This is the red one. Thank you for the 50. God, I didn't even see this. Sorry, man. What's the best way for a man to protect himself when he wants to have kids, but he is red pill aware? The best way is to read book 3, Positive Masculinity. I talk about all of the threats and the things that you have to be aware of as a parent, first of all. Okay. Second of all is this: don't try to do it alone. People ask me all the time, like, I want to be a single father. Since you gave me a $50 super, I'll tell you this. People tell me this all the time. Rollo, I don't want to have a wife, but I want to have kids. Well, don't do that to the kids. I would tell you the same thing, and I would tell women the same thing too. The reason why we say single mommies are lousy parents is because there's no man in the house. And you know what? Even if you're a better parent than the average single mommy as a single daddy, you would still be your kids will still come out better if you have a mom to model conventional femininity. I don't care if it's a boy or if it's a girl. You need two parents, a man and a woman in that. That's your first tribe, right? So that will be the first thing I tell you is don't try to do it alone. If that means if you think that means marriage, then that's what it means. If it doesn't, then you should still have a woman and you should still have a mother of your child, and you have some sort of like permanent relationship with. You're going to have a permanent relationship with them anyways because you fathered a kid with this girl. So that's what I would tell you. Can you believe ADJ Anthony the Dream Johnson was going on with that story about? Okay, well, let me explain some things to you. That we're even having this conversation like 2.5 years, almost 3 years later, should illustrate to you the degree of obsessive compulsive disorder that this guy has. End of story. Again, show me the work. Show me the product. Show me what's happened since that. Again, almost 3 years. Again, today is not about, you can bring up whatever the fuck you want to bring up, but like that's not what I'm getting into. The reason I wanted to do this is because here in just about 15 minutes, I'm going to transfer over, well, actually, maybe another 20 minutes. I'm going to transfer over to Donovan and Myron, and you can follow the conversation over there a little bit more. I don't want to cover what they're talking about. I just wanted to give you kind of a preface with today's show about that. Watch Matthew Hussey. Oh boy, interview some time ago. Him telling solipsistic women to look more for them. Self is scary. Typical purple pill. Yeah. Well, again, Matt Hussey is a brand of me. And so, okay, great. What does his brand of me cater to? Who's his audience? Who's paying the bills for Matt Hussey? Usually washed out, aged out spinsters. And what Matt Hussey has done, to his credit, I mean, you have to respect the hustle to some degree. Like I just talking about the grift and everything. You know, it's everyone's a grifter, but there's the grifters who actually give back. Matt Hussey's not giving anything back to anybody, but you still have to respect the hustle. And his hustle is that he's selling this ideal to women who still have some hope that they're going to be able to make their dreams come true, their ideals come true, right? So what Matt Hussey does is this. This is in a nutshell. And he's not the only one. Mark Manson does the same thing. Evan Mark Katz does the same thing. I think who else? It's the same hustle. So it's the positivity grift, but it's a positivity grift that sort of stays in keeping with gynocentrism and the feminine primary, like social order, right? So what these guys do is they say, well, there's all these women, and they understand their market very well. There's all these women who would very much like to get with the guy, but they're past their prime. And even some of these women are beginning to sort of acknowledge that they are past their prime. Well, it's not their fault. And it's never women's fault because women are always victims, right? They're the vulnerable sex. You want to know why women cling to victimology? It's innate. It's not, I mean, society reinforces it for sure, but it's innate because women are always the victims because women are the vulnerable sex. They're the ones who have to seek security all the time. They have to have protection, provisioning, and parental investment. And if they don't get that within a frame of time, within a window of time, usually 22 to 24, somewhere around there. If they don't get it within that window of time, then they're ass out. And they are progressively, increasingly less able to compete in the sexual marketplace the older that they get. Now, I'm not comparing them to men. I'm not making intersexual comparisons, but intersexually, like with other women, they are less able to compete. A 33-year-old woman is less able to compete with her 23-year-old self. And women know this. And when they get to 38 or 39, man, it's like shit or get off the pot, man. That's the time. Well, when that time comes around, that's when Matt Hussey has his, his cute little smiling face, man. He's so good looking. He's so cute. Oh, he's saying the right things too. What are you going to tell him? Tell him, Matt. Here's the pitch. Don't worry, ladies. I'm going to tell all those rat bastard men that they need to grow up and they need to stop being kiddles and they need to start planning for the future. And that future means lining up and aligning with your mating strategy and your life strategy. So I'm going to tell them that I'm going to tell them exactly what a feminist woman would be telling them. You have fragile egos and you're insecure in your masculinity and you're not stepping up to the plate, mister, and you're not manning up unless you go and get a job and unless you follow this old order way of thinking. I'm going to go and tell them that, ladies. I'll be right back. Goes back and it comes. And so that's the pitch, right? So when women say, Matt, what do I have to do to get a man at 40? Matt's right there. Don't worry. I'm going to tell those guys to be the perfect guy for you when they get to be 30 or 40 or whatever it is. That they're not living up. They're not measuring up. They need to be better men. Man up. Take more responsibility. It's the same thing TradCons have been doing for a long time. I don't know if Matt Hussey's technically a TradCon. Mark Manson, same thing. These guys, and all of these guys, by the way, will not get edgy enough to ever call themselves red pill. They'll come at us. They'll come at me. They'll come at the manosphere. They'll come at not me personally sometimes, but they'll come at like those guys, those PUAs, Leisure Shoot Larry. They'll come at those guys. They'll come at the caricature of what they think is a PUA or what they think the red pill ought to be. Remember we were talking about like how the red pill is always derogatory. Yeah, of course it is. It's easy. It's an easy target. Yeah, throw things at the red pill. Hey, ladies, look, I'm throwing things at the red pill, and therefore you should like me. Yeah, tell them not to play games and manipulate us now that we're 40 years old and we really need security in the long term. Oh, Matt. Oh. Yeah, Matt Hussey's a piece of work, man. Mark Manson's a piece of work, too. What's funny about Mark Manson is he really changed his story once he got married. He's following the script. If you watch the episode I did, which is called The Script, you'll understand what I'm talking about. It's the prodigal son returneth. Tucker Max, prodigal son returneth. Mark Manson, prodigal son returneth. Evan Mark, I don't even anybody even know who Evan Mark Katz is anymore. Prodigal son returneth. Everything. See, ladies, you want to know what's funny is like when I talk about like Tucker Max or I talk about Mark Manson's another one, but like guys who used to be Julian Blanc. Okay, we'll pick on Julian for a moment. The moment they get married and they have to pivot to like I'm a dating coach, but I'm married, or Todd Valentine or whatever. Again, nothing against those guys personally, whatever. I'm not attacking their brand. I'm not attacking them. I'm just saying that they're following the script of the prodigal son. The prodigal son, like I said before, I mentioned this when I was talking about Roosh as well, because he's a prodigal son too. That's the grift, is the prodigal son. I was a horrible, incorrigible bachelor, but this little lady turned me into somebody better. And now I see the light. I want to come back to my father's graces and live under his roof again. What that is I realize the error of my ways, and ladies, really, men should be more emotionally available, and we should have been following you all along, and I shouldn't have been manipulating you when I was writing, I hope they serve beer in hell, right? Or when I was at RSD and I was this incorrigible bachelor and I was spinning plates, that was wrong, ladies. I was wrong. I'm sorry. Oh, so please forgive me. Okay, we forgive you on, Dr. Oz or Dr. Phil or whatever whoever has a daytime talk show, right? Oh, come on over here. We're gonna point our finger and tell you you're a bad man. But don't worry, by the end of the show, we'll welcome you back into the fold because you came back to the plantation. Because you decided that you wanted to actually come back to the true belief. Right? That's the story of the prodigal son, right? Go off and take my father's inheritance and seek my fortune with hookers and blow. Come back all poor and destitute and hope that dad will accept you back into the home and live with the pigs. No, we're going to slay the fatted calf and bring him and have a big party because my son's returned to me. It's the same thing when it comes to the feminine primary social order. That's why I said emotionalism is a religion. It's a belief set. Gynocentrism is not just a set of social standards. No. It is a belief system. Gynocentrism is a belief system. Feminism is a belief. It's an ideology. Gynocentrism is an ideology. We need more women in coding. We need more women in politics. We need more women in religion. We need more women here and anywhere except for hard labor, raw sewage, and construction, and anything that's, that's hard. That's tough. That's dirty. I don't want that. But we need more women in HR. We need more women to be CEOs. We need more women to be on the board of directors. That's a belief, man. That's not a... it turns into a social convention, or it turns into like policy eventually, but that's a belief. So when I say it makes no difference whether you're a feminist or you're not, I'm a feminist, I'm not a feminist. You know, for most TradCon women, like quote unquote red pill women, right? For most of them, they think that they have this image that's very similar to, like, you know, people talking about like PUAs. It's like this fiendish, he's like this little, you know, creepy PUA, right? Well, the feminist for red pill women is like the girl with like fuchsia colored hair and like armpit hair, and, you know, she's got leg tats or whatever, and she's like, yeah, I'm going to talk about patriarchy. And she looks like it was the patriarchy with the fuchsia colored hair? Patriarchy. That's the character. But that's not. They don't realize that they're feminists too. Exactly. It's just a different context. That's all. Because it's the same belief. It's the same ideology. We need to promote the interests of women. That's a religion. We need men. We need men to be more emotional and in touch with their emotions. That's a religion. That's a belief. You believe that men, because what else is it? They're not basing it on stats. They're not basing it on statistics. They're basing it on feelings. And that's what religion is. Religion starts in the emotional process, not the rational process. And I'm not saying that you can't have philosophical thoughts, or you can't come to religion via the rational process. You can't. Most people don't. In fact, their starting point is usually emotion. And that's why women, you want to know why women are more religious than men? Because it starts in emotion. It's part of their emotional process. How did this make me feel? Oh, I felt really good going to church. Okay, well, that's your belief set. I believe that women should be more representation in state legislature until it's 100% women on the city council or the state, senator or whatever, state house. Now what? When you got all women, it's 100%. It's not about equality. I always say this on Twitter. It's never been about equality, and it's still not about equality. It's about female supremacism. That's what feminism is. Patriarchy is, at least in its ideal sense, is a balanced system. Feminism is only about gynocentrism. It is only about the needs by and for women. But that's a belief. That's a belief set. And if you challenge that belief set, if you use the red pill awareness, you want to know why women are so threatened by PUA or by red pill or by these guys. They're threatened by guys just even getting together in the same room and talking. That's a threat. They don't want you to have like male only extracurricular clubs at Harvard or your college or whatever. That's sexism, and that is gender exclusivism and whatever else. Well, women can, of course, but men, no. We need to make sure women are there to sort of be the overseers in the locker room and make sure these guys don't say anything that they shouldn't. And if we can't be there, we need enough guys who believe the same thing we do to be in there to police that conversation. And that's how you stifle conversation. You want to know why we're in the mess we're in right now with cancel culture? We silence him. Put some duct tape on his mouth. Don't let him speak. Yeah, because what he says is going to make you feel bad. I get this all the time, and I know other guys in the sphere do too. Women will say, you know what, Rollo, if you were just deliver it differently. If you didn't make those stupid little voices you make all the time, if you weren't so arrogant, if you weren't so... It doesn't matter how I deliver it. It's the information that is offensive to you, because the information, statistics, the red pill awareness, the red pill praxeology challenges your belief system. If you believe in the empowerment, right? If you believe in that, if that's a belief set for you, any empirical, and my empiricism is going to offend your belief. Silence him, shut him up. It's not my tone. It's what I'm presenting to you that's offensive, because you don't, for the most part, most people don't have any counter argument. I wish they did. I wish, because then you could have a discourse, but you can't, because what's happening, and again, another thing I wrote in the book is you don't speak the same language. I tried to tell this to, I think I tried to explain this to Myron at one point. I said, you know what, the reason why, like when he has the girls on, and you'll probably see this happen in the next week, when there's a girl sitting across the table from you, and she's 19 years old, or she's 20 years old, or, you know, in her 20s or whatever. Hell, even if she's 33, 31, 33, and you're talking to her about the nature of men and women, you can have all the hard data in the world, and she'll still win the argument, because the purpose, the goal of that art, like how do I win this argument? Well, the way she wins is by making you a bad person. And the way you win is by coming to objective truth, because you're not speaking the same language. You're not having the same debate. When you're talking to a believer, and by that, I don't mean like religion, it could be religious, but when you're talking to somebody who has a belief set, and they have that belief in this case, gynocentrism, and you talk to them and you say, well, here's the data. Here's 70% of women initiate divorce. Well, that's because men drive them to it. It must be men's fault, because that data is hard fact. It's bam, it's right there. 70%. Son of a bitch, I can't believe it. 86% of child custody ends in women taking the kids. You can't argue against the numbers. The numbers are what they are. The money situation. You want to know why? Remember when Jeff Bezos and Mackenzie Bezos were getting divorced? And Mackenzie Bezos, what did she get? Like 31 billion with a B, billion dollars. You want to know why women like lost their minds over that, when guys were saying, oh, like shit, I can't believe it. If you go and you look at the data, if you look at the richest women in the world, like the Forbes, like there's 60 richest women in the world, I think something like 58 of them, or 57 of the 60, they came into that money either by inheriting it or through divorce. And so they're the CEOs of this. They didn't create the company. They didn't build it from the ground up. Like Mackenzie Bezos, sure as shit, didn't build Amazon up, but that's what you heard. And that's the only story you got, because that felt better than the fact that, you know, it's $31 billion. And, you know, to his credit, you know, Jeff Bezos, oh, okay, here's $31 billion. What? But the thing is it wasn't a statement on even the two of them. It was a statement on the divorce industry. And that feels bad. So when you show numbers, you show hard data. There's no arguing against that. That's empirical data that goes against a belief set. Well, so what were the excuses? What were the rationales that women were giving? Because like Mackenzie deserves that 31 billion. What? Well, yeah, because she helped him back in the day and she used to be the secretary of Amazon when they had it in one small little office in 1997 or whatever it was, when they got it off the ground. You know, she was on the board of directors. She held a lot of stock. I'm like, if they divested Amazon right now, would she make $31 billion? That's not the equity of the company. That's the equity of Jeff Bezos. That's where it's coming from. It's not coming from the company. And you can show them the data and like, well, she deserved it. Because if she didn't deserve it, then it feels bad. Then those numbers feel pretty damn bad. And I don't care how you can deliver that information like as you know, an arrogant, you know, son of a bitch, or you can just put it in like, okay, it was $31 million or $31 billion and she made it. Like I can deliver it either way and it feels like shit no matter what. So it's not the actual delivery. It's not it's the feels, right? And that's why women default to, oh, if you change your tone, things would be different. No, it wouldn't, because the information doesn't change. I'm not having the same conversation. I'm speaking a different language. I'm speaking the language of empiricism. I'm speaking the language of data. That's why I keep insisting that the red pill is a praxeology. And the reason why people want to turn it into an ideology is because if they can, then they can win their own argument from their own perspective. They can't win the argument from an empirical perspective. How do I win the argument? Change the red pill to an ideology. Another reason why the red pill will never be mainstream and shouldn't be mainstream because you will never have that conversation. You don't speak the same language. Believers and empiricists do not speak the same language. For the believer, is Rollo right? Is Rollo a good man or a bad man? That's why I get called a cult leader all the time. I'm the devil, right? That's Rollo Tomassi. Is he good or is he bad? Is he good or is he evil? Right? That's why I get that from TradCons all the time. Shit, I get it from MGTOW and Black Pill too, right? Doomers want to turn me into something I'm not. TradCons want to turn me into something I'm not. I'm like the Voltaire of this era. You know, it's like okay, do whatever you got to do. But the reason why they do that is because what I present clashes with their ego invested beliefs. And we're not having the same conversation because believers don't speak the same language that empiricists do. So that's why whenever they say, Rollo, you need to debate Face and LMS, or you need to debate Pat Stedman, or he won't debate me. I'm like, okay. And the first thing out of my mouth is, what are we debating? Hypergamy? Soulmate myth? Red pill? What have I said that is incorrect? I encourage that. I encourage that in all my books. If I say, quote, paraphrase my own self, right? If you think I'm full of shit, I want to know, because that's part of the praxology. I need to adjust. If I'm in error, please tell me and I will adjust for that. That's the beauty of the scientific process. You don't have to be, in fact, I don't even expect to be 100% right. I only expect to be right enough and correct enough to create a predictive framework so that you can use that information to better your life. That's it. Use that data, use that empirical data to better your life. No, it makes me feel bad. And it doesn't matter if it's a chick. For the most part, like if I'm looking at TradCons, if I'm looking at Black Pill guys, MGTOW, the more extreme end of MGTOW, certainly MRAs, certainly Incels, you're using the same arguments and you're arguing from the same side of things, the same alignment as women do. You're arguing from an emotional perspective. Because if you weren't, you wouldn't say, oh, you owe me a debate. About what? You're a cult leader. That's your feelings. You feel that way. Do I have a cult? Come on, guys. Let's get around this big pentagram and burn some incense or something. I'll do that. I'm not a cult leader. You guys can go pound salt for all I care, but it's like I'm still going to put the data out there. I'm still going to create. I'm still going to put things out. I'm put things in books. But that's why. Because we live right now, especially in Western cultures, we live in a time of emotion versus reason. And so when I'm sitting across the table from young women who are 20, 19, whatever, and I will probably do so this week in Miami, when I'm doing that, I'm not doing it because I think I'm going to convince them of anything. We're not even speaking the same language. They're speaking the language of emotion, and they don't even, I try to get, I'm going to try to do this. I promise you guys, I will try to do this at some point while I'm in Miami. And Myron, if you're watching, expect me to do this, because if I'm sitting across a table from a girl and she starts talking about how like those girls with Tia and the rest of those girls are, if they start talking about stuff like, well, you know, men need to be more emotional, and I want a man to talk about his feelings, right? If I get that, you know what I'm going to say? The first thing that's going to come out of my mouth is this: where did you come up with that? Who taught you that? Why do you believe that? Why do you think that men need to be more in touch with their emotions? Because that's the same horse shit that's been fed to certainly Americans, but like Western societies since the time of Gloria Steinem. Men need to be, we need to get rid of this macho-ness. Men are wearing masks of masculinity. And if men were more perfect, if men would just let down the act, they'd be more like women. They'd be more in touch with their emotions. That's the goal, right? To be a good person in girl world is to be more like a girl. So guys, even though I can show you the empirical data that shows you that men do not process emotion the same way that women do, it's part of our brain architecture. It's the way our synapses in our brain are wired, literally wired. I can show you the data that shows you the physical, psychological, mental, whatever you want to call it, differences between men and women But yet, in spite of all that, we still think men and women are the same. And to be the best person, to be the best human being, is to be a woman, because that's exactly what they're at 19 years old. 19, can't even legally drink, right? 19 years old, and the belief is embedded. Men need to get in touch with their emotions. Men need to express themselves It's okay if you cry. We've been saying that since like the middle of the 70s. You know, we don't want any of this macho bullshit. We want guys who are really, they're down to earth and authentic and real. And you need to get in touch with your feminine side. The fact that you even think that there's a feminine side means that somewhere along the line, you were taught Carl Jung's anima animus, because that's where that comes from. Where did you get that? They won't even know. They probably got it from Disney. They probably got it from Pixar. They probably got it from some pop song. Maybe they heard it in school. Maybe their parents got it from Disney and passed it on to them. There's lots of ways they can come to it, but they don't even know how they came into that belief set, but that's what they believe. And when you present any kind of data that conflicts with that belief, it feels bad. It feels wrong. It feels like you're a bad person for having said that. So when somebody tries to turn you into the devil or God or an angel, depending on whatever it is that you said, you're talking to a believer. And again, it's not a religious thing. This is like, what are their beliefs? What's their worldview? What's their belief perspective? What are their values, right? That's what we call it, values. What do you value? I value men who cry. Well, okay. Even if that's true, how did you come to that? They don't want to answer that because most of them don't have any idea. Well, I can tell you why. Over the course of the last, since 1965 and the, sexual revolution, but it takes time. And most people don't want to, because rationality is the slowest of all the interpretive processes. So it would require me to force you to pay attention long enough to understand my language, right? My language of reason, rationality. So that is the number one reason why you never appeal to reason with women. Because they don't start from reason. I'm not saying they can't be reasoned with. They can't be rational. Certainly they can be, but they have to learn. It's not a natural proclivity. That's not where they start from. They start from emotion and then they go to reason if they get to it. Men, on the other hand, start from, instinct, then reason, and then emotion, unless they have been taught that it's better to start with emotion. It's all about healing, right? That's why we have different interpretations of infidelity when it comes to women. Like, women have a problem with emotional infidelity. Like, if you have an emotional affair, you don't even have to fuck a girl, right? You don't even have to have an act of like betrayal, right? You could just be jerking off, or you could just be like talking to the maybe you have a work wife, right? Maybe you have like an emotional connection or an interpersonal connection with somebody. That is still, women still want to turn that into an act of infidelity. Whereas for men, if a woman fucks another dude, that's it. It's the physical thing. Because men are more interested in paternity, and women are more interested in their own investments in that guy. So, and they start from different spots. Like, men, reasonably, pragmatically, if a woman cheats on him, the possibility exists that the kid ain't his. And he might be, that's an evolutionary dead end for that guy. That's all up here. That's your starting package. That's your start. It's your operating condition. For women, they start with emotion. That's why an emotional affair is almost more. And I've read the studies. Rolf, thank you, Rolf. What's it? I forget. Deegan. The studies point out that women are more upset about emotional affairs than anything else. Gosh, I'm getting a lot of light on my face right now. Excuse me. I'm going to back up just a touch. Try to get it on there. Anyway, so I'm going to be transferring over to Donovan and Myron's show here in just a minute. So Taylor, I'll get to you guys here really quickly. I'm conflicted on this. Say if you're Elon Musk with world-changing ideas, is possible to keep a girl from cheating and staying loyal, or just trick for rest of life? Okay. If that's your primary concern, you've got bigger fish to fry, Taylor. Okay. Don't worry about keeping her from cheating. Okay. She's not yours. It's just your turn. Even the chick that Elon Musk is with, it's not, he's Grimes, whatever her name. That ass is not his. That's her ass. And it's just his turn. And it's his turn for as long as it's his turn. How long as she says it's his turn. Stop obsessing over that. Okay? Well, I want to make sure that, a girl doesn't cheat and stays loyal for life. Okay, well, so has every dude on... You want to know why we invented marriage? That's why. You got... Again, it's not about... I don't have some magic formula for you, Taylor. Okay? The magic formula is to be indifferent to that. What else do I have going on here? Oop, damn it. I lost that one. Shit. Hang on. Oh, there it is. Ian. Ah, crap. Sorry. Let me back up just a touch here. Let's see. I did that. Silver Bishop says, watched Matthew Hussey. Okay, we talked about him. Hacker Boy says, incels are the perfect feminist men. They are the inevitable outcome of feminism. That's what incels are. Betas who know their place and will not do anything to step out of that place. They stay in their lane and they will do nothing but jerk themselves off and go extinct. Incels are serving an evolutionary imperative. They are voluntarily going extinct. And if that's your thing, well, okay, whatever, but you're voluntarily participating in it. Oh, okay. I will be going over to Donovan Sharp's show here in just a minute. So if you guys want to switch over to that here in just a second, I'm going to finish out these things and I'm going to close this out and then I'm going to go over there so we can continue this conversation. Silver Bishop says, oh, I got that. Lee Maxfield says, the red pill is the Chilton manual for the car that is the sexual marketplace. Nuts and bolts, baby. The professor spitting facts like always. And all right, there you go. You're going to expect to hear that a lot next week. I'm sorry. Wednesday show, by the way, I will be on Myron's show. I'm going to try to do a 30-minute. I will see if I can record from my hotel room and see where we go with that. What did you say? Oh, now I caught up. Oh, here we go. What do you think of Black Dragon's hypergamy video? I haven't seen it. I know who he is, just vaguely, because I think I met him one time at a convention. Rough summary, women don't leave alpha men for better alphas, but for weak men who will submit. Well, that is entirely false. I would like to see what his data sets are and how he would try to back that up, because hypergamy does not seek its own level. Hypergamy seeks something that's better. Why would it? If that's your ultimate form of agency, why would you look for something worse? It makes no pragmatic, no practical sense. And if that's been his experience, I will show you some circumstantial things that are going on in whatever anecdote he wants to provide and say, oh, well, see, here's something that's going. Show me the data and show me and tell me how you came to that conclusion. I would like to see that. What else do I have here? I got a few more. Let me get going here. Release date for Religion Audible should be 3/16. Damn, that's a good idea. Holy crap, Ross! You're a genius. That's amazing. Yeah, that would be awesome. And I happen to know that Sam is moderating the chat right now. So, Sam, what do you say? Can we have the audio out by 3/16? By March 16th for the Audible? That would be freaking brilliant. Thank you for that, Ross. Oh, God, I need you on my marketing team. Man's superpower says, I got introduced to your work in 2017. Cool. I purchased your first book immediately at 41. My life is now at 41 now. My life will never be the same. Thank you much, Rollo. Keep going. I will. Man's superpower. Mark Shepard, believe that was a sticker. Thanks for that, man. I like the stickers. I think I make mention of that all the time. Is that it, or am I think I have caught up. Thank you very much. Oh, Sam. Sam says this. I'm getting close. Good. Wait, let's see. Can I do it in... I'm going to do it in Sam's voice. I'm getting very close. Should I finish out the show in Sam's voice? Could I possibly do that? When you see Sam, when you talk to, and let me tell you something about Sam Bottom. When you see Sam Bottom and the voice comes out of him, you're like, where did that come from? Like, it's, I don't know. Some people, it's like, it's the it's the James Earl Jones effect, right? Or it's like, you know, when people have like that very like characteristically distinctive voice, and you look at the person, you go, I can't believe that dude is making that sound. That's Sam. That's why Sam is the voice of the rational male. People kept thinking, you know, it's funny. When I first started doing conventions, people thought that I was reading, that was me, that was reading the Audible for the rational male. And I think probably at that time it was maybe the preventive medicine too. And people go, are you really Rollo? You don't sound like him. Like, no, dude, it's my radio announcer. He actually sounds like a movie announcer. There you go. Rollo, the bringer of light. Yes, that's me, Rollo Morningstar. All right, that's enough of that. What else do you have here? Rollo, you may make me just want to purchase prostitutes for the rest of my life. Well, that's not what I'm trying to do here. Opposed to risk my sanity, financial future, and freedom over a woman. Well, if you think that you're risking that, then you still have some more to learn. And as I've said before, and people will ask me this all the time, I might as well clarify this here at the end. Yep, that's me. Here at the end, parting words for you. If you are in any way despondent, or if you think that that you have no other choice, like here's what happens. Like when guys become red pill, and I hate to even use that as a verb because I don't really call it, you know, unplugging is the verb really, but red pill is sort of like an awareness. It's a state of being, I guess. You can't go back. And if you've ever watched the Matrix movies, you're welcome, Sam. If you've ever watched the Matrix movies where Cypher tries to reinsert himself back into the Matrix, and he's talking to the Smith agent, and he's just it's so ridiculous because they've spent pretty much half the movie establishing that the Matrix is pretty much this closed system, and that trying to negotiate with it is pretty stupid because you're putting your fate in the hands of, you know, a system that is not in your best interest. Now think of that in terms of like blue pill conditioning or gynocentrism or whatever it is. That's the system. That's the belief set. That's why people will fight you to maintain that system, to stay inserted, to stay in the Matrix. They'll fight you to stay in the Matrix because they're dependent on it. They're dependent on the hope that, and the ideals, that's why I call it blue pill ideals, but they're dependent on the hope that those ideals might somehow be attainable, achievable. The goals are lies. The ideals are lies because they're based on a false system. They're based on a hopeful. I'm not saying you shouldn't be hopeful. You should absolutely be optimistic, but be so in an educated perspective. But people will fight for that because they want to, you know, they're dependent on it. And like it says in the movies, but like, so you've got Cypher, and Cypher wants to be pushed back into the Matrix. I'll give up Morpheus if you make me somebody rich, and he wants to eat steak again. He wants to play. He wants to be happy, right? It's like I've talked about this with Ryan before. Would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? Because the red pill is right, but the blue pill is happy. Those guys, people are happy. They don't want you fucking with their happy, especially if they become some way successful and have achieved some of these ideals, these blue pill ideals. They're the special few who have to, there has to be some success or you can't sell that system anymore. So the people who you're happy, and you're, you know, what is it? Ignorance is bliss, right? Slap the smile off my face. But, so would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? I mean, ideally we'd like to be both, but usually it doesn't work that way. And that's really what the red pill, you want. That's the, I'm here at the end. That's the primary reason why the red pill will never go mainstream, because people would rather be happy than be right, because the truth will set you free, but it doesn't mean that you are immune from the responsibilities that that truth presents to you. It doesn't mean that you are somehow invulnerable or bulletproof, or it won't. The truth, often enough, the truth doesn't make you happy. However, knowing the truth gives you an opportunity to find a new kind of happiness or find a new kind of way to sort of live yourself in a new paradigm, because now you know something that you didn't know before. You can apply this to a lot of different things, obviously, but it comes down to, would you rather be happy or would you rather be right? And if I can show you how I'm right empirically and you have no counter argument to that, at least in the short term, that feels pretty bad. And you know why it feels bad? You know why you're unhappy? Is because my data, or the red pill, if that's what you want to call it, invalidates your beliefs and your ego invested beliefs and the way that you've been living your life and your hopefulness. That's why guys get despondent. That's why they get nihilistic. That's why they go and they apply themselves in, the extreme ends of MGTOW or black pill or doom and gloom or incels or whatever else, whatever the next faction. There's going to be more, by the way, because those are just practices. That's just that's how you use those are how people use the red pill information. That's how they use that data. That's how they use the red pill praxology. Well, so your red pill. Yeah. What did you do? I went MGTOW. Anybody smart enough would go MGTOW. I'm black pill because it's doom. It's there's no happiness anywhere. Fucking I'm out. Incels. I'm going to go get an OnlyFans girl. Well, that's, as I was saying before, and I'll put this one back up here real quick. It's like, you have some time to, if that's what you want to do. I'm not going to shit on you for, like, if you say, well, it just seems like I would live a better life by accepting the transactional nature of sex, because I don't want to put out that much effort for something that the juice ain't worth the squeeze, but I still want the juice. So how do I do it? How do I get less of a squeeze, right? How do I minimize my squeeze and still get the juice? And prostitution. Okay. Well, if you're okay with that girl playing, play acting that real bang me, you're a big stud, right? She's acting for you. And if you're okay with that, why not? Why not get a sex doll? Why not jerk off the porn? Cut out everything, cut out all the middlemen and just beat off and go about your business. Why aren't you doing it? That seems to me the most pragmatic way of doing it. Pay a prostitute. That's not cost effective if all I'm really after is the glandular release after an orgasm, right? Most guys do that anyway. Most guys come to that conclusion anyways because they don't have the money or they don't see the point. They'd rather use that $50 instead of a blowjob. They'd rather go get the next game for their Xbox. Pragmatism. If that's the amount of effort you want to do, if that's the practice that you want to apply to your life after you become red pill aware, well, I mean, that's on you. I don't think it's much of a lie. That's just me, but maybe that's works best for you. And maybe it works best for you for now. And then later, something else. Later, you become more adept at applying the red pill. You're better at game. You've got a better at body. Like maybe this, right? You say, okay, well, I'm gonna pay for prostitutes, whatever, blah 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 blah. And okay, well, that was 4 years ago, and now my body fat percentage is I'm 8%. I'm Andres Munzer. I'm 8% body fat, and I'm ripped, and I'm huge, and women just adore me. Well, maybe now you don't need to buy prostitutes anymore. Maybe that worked for you then. You're still red pill and you understand the nature of women. And now you're moving on and you're saying, well, now I don't have to do it, or I don't have to pay in the same way that I did. Now I'm going to get involved more into the sexual marketplace, but within reason, because I understand the game that's being played. I think that's the hardest part for most guys. When they're red pill, they don't want to kind of step outside of their heads. It's almost like role playing. We call it LARPing, right? Like live action role playing. You're going to a Renaissance fair, right? Or you're going a cosplay or something. You're not actually that character, but you can, hey, what the hell? We're just going to play act for a little while. When you do acting on stage, you're not actually that person, or on film or whatever. You're play acting. You're doing it. You're acting a role. And I think a lot of guys think that because they understand. It's like they understand the red pill and the basics of it. They understand the praxology, and they still want to be happy. But it's like, okay, let's go back and let's plug ourselves back into the matrix, and let's play for a little while. Let's have that steak. Let's pretend we're having sex. Let's play the game. The only problem happens is when you start to believe that. I said this before. It's like guys who are okay with prostitutes or escorts. If that's your thing. That's your thing, right? But don't start believing that. Don't start becoming an incel. Don't become a simp, because you'll turn into those guys who believe that the girl on the other side of the screen on her OnlyFans actually gives a shit about you. They don't. Maybe they do until you stop paying, and then they go on to the next simp who's still paying. It's when you start trading happiness for truth that you have a problem. So there is that. All right. I'm going to move over. It is going to be, oops, my bad. Hang on. Oh, I got one more. Is this, who is this? Oh, who gave me this? Oh, thank you. Stefan, thank you for that $50, my friend. If I can, oh, there it is. Got it. Ha. Thank you. Red Pill. That'll be a good show ender. Thank you very much. Red Pill into 2021 with the Godfather. Thank you. If you're calling me the Godfather, I will accept. As I said. All right. I'm going to go over to Donovan. Is it Donovan? Yeah, it's Donovan Sharp's show. So if you want to go bounce over to Donovan's channel on YouTube, I'm going to go over there and just sort of throw my 2 cents into the ring here. Finally, I will be in Miami starting tomorrow. And it's highly likely that as soon as I walk off that goddamn plane, that these guys are going to grab me, throw me in a van, put a blindfold over my head, yeah, put a bag over my head and throw me in a van and take me directly to the studio. And there'll probably be some chicks sitting across from me and they'll go, okay, react to me. So we'll probably be doing some shows. If I don't miss my guess, I will be in about 7:30 Eastern time. So maybe we might do a show tomorrow, assuming I'm not like wiped out. But anyways, all next week I will be in the Fresh and Fit podcast studio in Miami, beautiful Miami, Florida. If you saw me talking to Hotep and doing my thing with those guys at the end of January, that is the same gig that I'm going to be doing. I am going to give you I'm going to do my damnedest to give you a 30-minute show on Wednesday. So you'll have that. If I can do some shorts between now and then, I will. But I will be there with Donovan Sharp and with Aaron Clary. And at some point, Aaron and I will be together in the same room talking about some good shit. I don't know what. And then all three of us. I know it's going to be myself. I'll go solo. Donovan will go solo. And Aaron will go solo. And then I'm sure we'll all three come together at some point where we'll talk about whatever's going on. And if I don't miss my guess, there's always going to be shenanigans and there'll be some late night unscheduled stuff going on too. So watch my Twitter feed for information. Watch my Instagram also for that. You can get all of the links down in the description for this video as well. And let's see. And I'm going to try, and thank you. I forget the guy who gave me the email. Email me about the fishing charter in Miami. I'm very interested in doing that, assuming I am not sleeping until like 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. because we stay up so goddamn late in these shows. That being said, that's going to be my schedule for next week. I most likely will not be on Rule Zero on Saturday on the upcoming one. But Rich Cooper will be hosting that one. That's his host on Saturday. If I can, I will. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know what he has planned, but he's going to be doing that. And if I'm not jet lagged completely, then I will do my damnedest to get up and go and do that in the morning on next Saturday morning. But Wednesday, 30-minute show, recorded one is coming up. I will do my best to keep up with the quick hits and the shorts as well. So there you have it. Go over to Donovan Sharp's YouTube channel, and I'm going to poke in there and see what's going on. Okay, thanks, guys. Much appreciated, and I will see you in Miami. Bye.